And I will say, I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for my friends at National Mortgage Insurance. So I met them, over 5 years ago when I was living out in Denver, Colorado. I got introduced to one of their national account reps, TJ Lyle, and their training director, and they've opened up so many doors. And it's really why I'm here today in front of you, because a hyper focus over the last 7 years, really the last 5 years, on banks and credit unions all over the country, right? I truly believe, my belief statement, Johnny's talking about that. I believe trained people always outperform untrained people. How many of you believe that? Trained always outperform untrained. Everybody needs a coach in life, right? When you have a great coach, they'll make you do three things. And these are three things that you all do for your clients and for your referral partners. And as Johnny mentioned, or maybe he didn't mention the bio, I have a heart of a teacher. So I'm going to teach today. Like, this is fun for me. I know it's 3 hours. It's like, oh my gosh, 3 hours. It's a lot of time. I promise you, it's going to go by quick. All right. So you do have a note section on the back of my little handout. And then I know you have all the different slides. All right. So when I say write something down, it's obviously your choice. But these are the three things that I believe a great coach does, and a great, what you do as a mortgage advisor. All right. Number one is they make people have conversations they don't want to have. Yes or no? They make them have conversations they don't want to have. They make them do some things they don't want to do, right? In your world, what does that look like? Getting your finances in order. How can we maybe repair that credit score a little bit, right? Cut back on the spending, save more money. So you make people do things that they don't want to do, but ultimately you help them become something they never thought they could become on their own, right? And I thank the good Lord for all the great people in my life who saw the good in me when it was easy to see the bad, right? Johnny's mentioning I was a 25-year-old punk, even though I was doing a lot of crazy, cool things, right? But I think a lot of us early on in our lives, we do a lot of things, right? And so I just appreciate the great coaches who saw the good in me when it was easy to see the bad, right? But that's really what we're going to do today. We're going to coach, we're going to teach, we're going to train. We're going to go through this whole process. So speaking of that process, I'm going to go back to 2017 when I launched my business in Denver, Colorado, right? So I was out in Nashville, Tennessee. Any Nash Vegas fans out there? Country music? We got a few. Okay. I love country music. So, I was in Nashville, helped grow this multi-million-dollar coaching business as the number two, right? I was the assistant coach. I want to go be the head coach. And this was after I had my PhD, but I'm like driving the bus. I'm making this dude drinks and like, you know what I mean? Like all these, like, this isn't below me sort of a thing, but I've always chosen the mentor over the money, right? I've always gotten proximity to prosper. And so after a couple of years of that, I'm like, you know what? I really want to go do my own thing. And during that time, we launched a division of the company called Talent Supply. We get your younger, newer talent ready faster. And I was fully in charge of that, right? That was intensive. Basically, the 100 plus $1 million producers in these big time mortgage companies would send their brand new mint people to our greatness factory. And I was in charge of coaching and developing those people twice a week, right? So think of that. It's an hour of me coaching, speaking like this. It's an hour of kind of role play, and then it's an hour of actually them doing it and me observing them, right? So think about doing that for a full year, twice a week, right? I mean, you're going to learn a lot of different things. And as Johnny mentioned, having that PhD in human performance, that's really just what I've always done really naturally well, is just studying and observing what do other people do well, internalize it, and then how can I go do it better, right? And so I had a lot of hands-on coaching and training from that. But after about a year of doing that program and us growing into this multi-million-dollar coaching business, a lot of the feedback that we got is, out of all the programs that you have, man, this is the best one. All right. And I'm on camera now, so I got to be careful. All right. And we're recording the session. But that was the feedback that we kept getting, is like, this is one of the best programs that you guys have. And so in the back of my mind, what do I start to think? Why am I not just doing this on my own, right? I developed most of the curriculum. I'm the one coaching it and selling it in addition to all the other things. And so I wanted to go from being the assistant coach to the head coach. Have you guys been there before, right? In your own lives? It's like, okay, I want to go be more, I want to go be that solopreneur. I want to go take a risk. You'll far more regret what you could have done in life, what you should have done, but what you did not do. And quite frankly, something did happen in my life at that time. My dad had lung cancer, and having those deathbed conversations, man, like they're tough. All right. And so that was that catalyst for me. You only get one life. The timing is never going to be perfect. And so when he passed away, man, I just told my old boss, my mentor, my friend, I love you. I appreciate you. But I'm cutting ties. And I did. I probably didn't handle it well, but I didn't want to have anything to fall back on. Are you with me there? Right? Burn the bridges is what they say. And I burn them. Again, I would handle it differently now today, but I just wanted to go all into my future. So I move out to Denver, Colorado. I'm like, hey, here I am. I have this amazing 90-day sales manager coaching program. I called it the P90X of sales. Everybody remember the P90X, the Tony Horton, right? It's so funny how many people still remember that program. But that was really the mentality. It's like P90X of sales training. Stop and give me 15, 20 minutes every single day. But when I got out to Denver, Colorado, and I don't know anybody, I'm starting completely fresh. I didn't coach any of my former bosses' clients. And I'm like, hey, here I am. And I was actually out in Ninja Land. Have you guys ever heard of Ninja Selling by Larry Kendall? It's right up there in Fort Collins. I didn't know that. Hey, I'm like the smartest dumb kid you ever meet. Okay. So I move out to this market. It's like Ninja Land. Right? So I'm competing with Ninja Selling out there. But I had to go out there and get the attention. And so that's really what, Mike, Johnny, you guys are kind of mentioning, like those who can't teach. That really pisses me off, that comment. Right. That was really the thing, like having a PhD at 29, becoming the youngest, one of the youngest ever program directors in the Texas A&M system. Hearing that for 2 years, I was like, man, I can't hear this anymore. And so that's part of why I got back into corporate America. But specifically with these 5 habits, I lived it, right? And I'm still living it. And, Johnny's mentioning basically, hey, there's a lot of new things, but I'll tell you, the old things always come back into style, yes or no, right? It's always the foundation. So as much as you guys don't want to hear it, it still is. And so that's what we're going to go through here step by step. And I'll just share with you again, when I moved out to Denver, not knowing anybody, within the first year, I grew my database over 1,500 people organically. Because why? I had a system. How many times in a day or a week do you say, I need a better system than this? Right? We need better systems. And if you're not raising your hand, you're lying. All right. So we all need better systems. And so that's what I want you to think about as we go through these 5 habits. They're really just habits, they're systems, they're processes, right? I kind of maybe overshare sometimes, but that's what makes me authentic, right, Johnny? But I turned the big 4-0 coming up on 2 years ago in May. And I started, like, man, I got to make sure I start doing the skincare, the facial stuff. And now 2 years into that, guess what? When I don't do that at night, do you think I can tell? Right? I just know when I don't have that nightly routine. I didn't wash my face. I didn't do the cleanser, right? Do you guys have nightly routines? Right? It's the same concept. And so that's why I just say, whether it's a process or a habit, you can tell when you don't do it. Are you with me there? Right? And so that's really what I think about with the habit. So that's what we're going to go through here today. I'll get back to that 5 habits overview. All right. Now, I do make some very basic assumptions when I coach. I know that I'm on camera here, but I also said I was going to move around because there's no way I can stay. If you can tell by my energy, I'm not staying stationary for too long. All right. But I make the assumptions. You guys know the assumptions rule, don't you? Makes an ass out of you and me, right? But these are the assumptions that I make anytime that I go speak. Number 1, are you hungry, humble, coachable? Right? Hungry meaning our best days are still ahead of me. Can I get an amen on that one, right? Our best days are still ahead of us, regardless of what's going on in the market. I know that, like, yes, but my best days, man, my potential is always ahead of me, sort of a thing. The humble meaning I don't know everything there is to know about everything. I will promise you guys this: the more I learn, the less I learn. I feel like the more I know, the less I know is kind of how I feel, especially mortgage. The more I learn about all the different things that you guys do, I'm like, oh my goodness, man. There's just so many parts of this, so many compliance. And, we recently launched sort of an accountability software that has like a CRM built in with a pipeline. And we had to completely change the way that we had our pipeline for you in mortgage, because why? You have your potential leads, and then you have your TBDs, and then you have your active, then you have your post-close, then you have your cancel. I'm like, holy crap. Like, you guys have so many different things that you're trying to manage within your pipelines. All right. So humble meaning I don't know everything there is to know, and being willing to admit that. Now, the last part of it, maybe the most important, is coachable. There's going to be some things in here that I suggest that you do. Think of this as your Luke Skywalker, I'm Yoda. I know it's a dumb analogy. All right. But it's like, hey, I have some different things that I'm going to strongly suggest that you go out there and do, but you're the hero of your story, of what we're going to cover today. All right. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. There's going to be some things in here like, no, that's not for me. But then there's going to be a few things you're like, yes, I know I need to get better at that. So coachable means I'm willing to go out there and try some of the things that this Dr. Bruce guy is going to share with us today, right? Now, the third part that I would just say is, the fourth part is enlightened. Are you enlightened? Anybody want to give me a crack at what is that? What do you think enlightened means? Or what do you think it means? This is the audience participation part. Just joking. Enlighten. What does enlighten mean? This is the teacher. I mean, you guys didn't know we were going to come here at 9 a.m. and start learning right away, right? Please do.
You know, you're willing to, when you're enlightened, you're looking for the next opportunity, you're looking for growth, you're looking for anything that improves what you do now.
I like it. What's your name again? Wes. So yes, all of that. The simplest way that I think about it is you just know why you're doing it, right? So again, like I could come in here and say we're going to do all these different things, but if you don't internally say, I know why I want to do that versus Bruce is telling me to do that, Mike's telling me to go do that, that's enlightened to me. Is you know why you want to do it in the first place. Now I bring that up because you know, I just feel like at this stage of your mortgage careers, if you're still doing it, you are a gamer. You are, I'm not saying you're a lifer, but I feel like that, right? Like you've gotten through this far the last couple of years, right? You see your work as a vocation rather than an occupation. A vocation is your voice or calling, right? And you see your God-given talents or your distribution channel for how you can go out there and help more people, right? Through your services. So that's how I think of vocation versus occupation, something that occupies my time that I receive a paycheck for. Now, I am not one of those, if you love what you do, you'll never work another day. I think that's BS. All right. There's certain things about all of our works, all of our vocations that we don't love doing. All right. However, if it's 80% of the time you don't enjoy it and only 20% you do enjoy it, guess what? That's going to be a hard way to make a living. That's going to be a hard way to go out there and make an impact. All right. So I want to flip flop that. So I already told you my shared beliefs, but I do truly believe this as well. I'm sharing a lot of different belief statements. What got us here won't get us there. Right. What got us here today won't get us to where we want to be unless we do get back to doing the things that we know that works. All right. So when I go ahead to this next slide, talking about these 5 habits, I will share with you in my personal life in 2020, when the world shuts down and my number one revenue source is speaking. You think I had that oh crap moment? I told Megan I'm not going to swear because we're on camera. We were holding. All right. But I had the oh crap moment in my business, right? Like, what am I going to do? I can't go speak in person, in public, right? I have over 100 speaking engagements every single year in person. I'm like, oh crap. And then during that time, guess what? I signed up for a marketing company that was like, well, hey, listen, you have this P90X in a box that has your workbook and a planner. You have all the videos already online. Let's just throw a bunch of ad money around it. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. They called it underwear money, right? You'll throw money at it, and what's going to happen? You're going to go out your mailbox and pick up a check, like a royalty, right? In your underwear. You never have to work. That sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? Yeah, well, guess what? It doesn't. So that's like, I'm just sharing this stuff because I go through a lot of the different emotions that you guys go through. And I've experienced a lot of these different types of things. And for me, it all comes back to this. It all comes back to these 5 habits and these 3 key areas of your business, right? They're all built around your sales, your service, your marketing, but all of it is a mindset. Every single day, it's a mindset. I have to move in the opposite direction of the world's negative pole. Things work out best for those who make the best of the things that don't work out. Working in business, and especially in mortgage and sales, a lot of things don't work out the way that you want, do they? Things work out best for those who make the best of the things that don't work out. Again, when you're talking about sales, you're talking about your percentages, your batting averages. I played college baseball, right? I love sports. I love sales as a game of probability. What's the challenge though for us? Is a lot of you, again, like the 80-20 rule, the 80% of the stuff that you're doing, you're only getting paid on 20% of it. Right? There's a lot of pre-quals, a lot of pre-approvals. There's a lot of networking events that you go to, right? There's a lot of, hey, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to earn your business from referral partners. That doesn't turn into anything, yes or no, right? There's a lot of things that we have to go out there and do, but the reality is we only get paid on a very small percentage of it. And so to me, that's what we're talking about, the mindset, man, the grit, the resilience that we all go through every single day, week, month, quarter, wash, rinse, and repeat, all right? So these are the basic missing structures tied to your sales part of your business. So over the next 10, 15 minutes, this is going to be my TED Talk. All right. I love TED Talks, those 18-minute, what are the key things, right? But these are the 5 areas of any business. Now, obviously, we're focused on you as mortgage loan officers, but this is universal. All right. This is universal. So the sales side of your business, the top 3 habits. Habit number 1. Having something to say is just as important as having somebody to say it to. I call that your opportunity statement. How do you overcome the commodity trap? When you sit down with a potential buyer for the very first sit down, the number one question you get asked is what? What do you do? What are your rates? Right? How low can you go? I've been shopping around and I just want to know what your rates are. Right? Is that not leading with the commodity right away? Right? When you get asked, what do you do for a living? You're all leading with, well, this is what I actually do. It's a trap. All right. But that's habit number one is I want to tap into individually, what do I get from you that I can't get from anybody else that's out there? I call that your free prize. Right? The free prize is there's something I get from you. Where does that come from though? It comes from your past, right? It comes turning your mess into your message, your mentors, your education, your struggles, and your scriptings. Because otherwise, why wouldn't I just use any one of you in here, right? I mean, if you work at Bank of Utah and you're all in the same market, I mean, you're not, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? Like, if it's apples to apples, and when most things by the government is regulated, it's going to be very, very similar across the board. Why I'm buying into you, right? From the very first conversation. And then you're marrying what you do, what I get from you with your company, right? I choose to work at Bank of Utah because this is what I get because of that, right? So habit number one, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. What you do simply proves what it is that you believe. And that's going to be a big exercise that we do over the next hour. All right. But that sets the stage now. Like once I know who I am, what I do, why I matter, once I know what really differentiates me, I didn't just fall into this. How many of you say that on a consistent basis? I just kind of fell into mortgage 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I get it. I didn't plan on becoming, Tony Robbins, Chris Farley, and a van down by the river motivational speaker. All right. So I completely get it. But however, marketing 101 says I have to be able to package that up in a way that's going to resonate with that other person that I'm talking to. It's called social identity. Have you guys ever sat down at a bar, restaurant, or total stranger, and within 3 to 5 minutes, you felt like you knew them forever? That's because you socially identify with something about them, whether it's their past or similar hobbies, right? Well, why can't we do that? Same thing for you in mortgage. Because what are you doing on the front end of any conversation if you're doing a pre-call or pre-approval? You're stripping them down financially naked. I know that's a very vivid thing to think about, right? But you're asking them all these deep level questions, conversations, how much is in your bank and what's your credit, all this kind of stuff, right? But yet you're not going to share anything about you yourself, right? You're just going to lead with the rate. And I hope that we do a good job. And I just kind of fell into this business and I think we'll take care of you, right? And so again, it goes back to you have to have something of differentiation, right? You have to be comfortable sharing your story. This is who I am. This is what I do. And this is why I matter. This is why you should use me. Self-promotion isn't evil. It's necessary in today's world. Yes or no? Would you guys agree with that? Right? So it's called the humble brag, but we have to be able to articulate our story and our messaging to other people. And then we marry that with this is what makes us different here at Bank of Utah. And here's all the people that we've done it for over the last however many years that we've been in existence, right? And if we can help you, just like we helped all these other people, what would stop us from having more conversations? What would stop us from getting started? Did that feel too salesy to anybody in here? Right? That's the first habit though. And then again, it sets the stage for the second habit, which is your proactive prospecting. And prospecting is one of those words that we hear and a lot of people immediately get kind of clammy hand. We get kind of nervous because what do we associate prospecting with really? Selling, cold calling. All right. Hey, just pick up the phone book. I'm going to start dialing for dollars. In the world that we live in today, isn't that kind of dead? Like we have data, we have information, you have, pipelines and databases and, you have lists. Hey, these are the top X amount of realtors in your area. Like we have more data than ever before. And so that's not what cold calling is to me anymore, right? To me, it's either warm or hot. Warm meaning, hey, maybe they don't know who I am, but there's still a reason I'm reaching out to them in the first place. Hot is, hey, they reached out to me, they expressed interest in me. Now all I have to do is just call them back. And guess what do I share with them? My opportunity statement. You see how all roads lead back to the opportunity statement? This is what I believe. This is why I believe it. This is how we do it differently. This is who we've done it for. And if we can help you like we helped everybody else, and we have shared beliefs, what would stop us from getting started? Right? So people use the first person they talk to. This is a stat that I love. This is the stat that made me think about, when I moved up to Denver, not knowing anybody, status sells. People use the first person they talk to 67% of the time. All right. So that's really the mindset that I'm in. But proactive prospecting, it's like there's two types. There's either new targets of people, which is what? You proactively making that initial contact and saying, hey, you might not know who I am. However, this is why I'm reaching out to you. All right. Now, the other mistake that a lot of people make in sales is they don't give themselves like that initial contact. Guess what? From that initial contact, I'm giving myself 90 days now to do what? To conduct that first meeting. A lot of you think it's going to be, I'm going to pick up the phone, I'm going to call them one time. Number one, they're not going to answer anyways, right? But it's going to be a one call close. When's the last time you one call closed a potential big time referral partner? Right? So it's like, just get rid of that thought process of it's a one call close. It's like, I'm going to give myself 90 days from this initial contact, and I'm just going to try to warm that person up. Right? And that was the mentality for me going back to Denver. Hey, I don't know anybody, but I'm just going to keep, they're called activation events. I'm going to keep going back to this person in new ways. Hey, we have this event going on. We have this opportunity. We have this marketing. This is how we can solve your problems better than anybody else out there. And I'm just going to keep going back and back and back. The most overused, underdone expression in business is I want to add value. Yes or no? I hear it all the time. And like, it's cliche now, man. Like, how are you actually adding value to these people's lives? All right. So proactive prospecting is I'm going to walk you through a selling system that I created. Again, this goes back to me growing my business over 1,500 people organically in year one because I had a selling system. All right. Now, the third part of it is the fortune is always in the follow-up. Thank you. A man's on it over here. I appreciate you. All right. The fortune's always in the follow-up. All right. The fortune's always in the follow-up. Unfortunately, most of us go 1, 2, 3 week attempts. And it sounds something like this. Hey, I was just checking in with you. Anybody guilty of that one? Just checking in with you. Can you answer any more questions? Right? I said this to a woman once, and this is when I knew I needed a selling system or a follow-up system. Hey, I woke up today thinking about you. Like, oh my God. As I'm saying, I'm like, what are you saying? You know? Right? So we all need some type of a follow-up system. Now, the statistics tell us it takes 7 to 15 touches 80% of the time to close a deal. All right. And so that's where, again, like most people go 1, 2, 3 week attempts. So I'm going to teach you my follow-up system, but then the mindset behind it. Because again, all roads also lead back to mindset. All right. Would all of you in this room agree, though, those are the big 3 sales parts of your business? You got to have a pitch. You got to be proactive in your prospecting. Proactive meaning you cause it to happen rather than waiting for Mike to send you a lead. You can't be a secret agent, sit inside your office all day just hoping people pick up the phone and call you, especially in this market. And then number 3, you have to be willing to fight for the business. Are we in agreement there? Those are the big 3 sales parts of anybody's business. All right. And then eventually what happens? We're at the closing table, right? You start that in process. You give them the keys to their home. You know, that referral partner sends you that first referral. So that really gets into now the service side of the business. How can you be transformational in a transactional world? You guys literally call them transactions in mortgage. All right. Stop doing that. Like, how can I be transformational in a transactional world? The number one reason why people don't refer their real estate agent is because they don't remember their name. Have you ever heard that before? It's crazy to me, right? You guys have a panel that comes up here, so I hope that they never see this recording. I coach a lot. I speak and I coach a lot of real estate agents, man. They are the most exhausting group of people I've ever met in my life. I'm okay with saying that on camera in front of you all. All right. They have egos. They're very undisciplined. They want the get rich quick thing. They love anything to do with marketing. Does this sound familiar? You guys don't answer that. All right. So I get it. All right. But it's like, hey, you know, I'm going to be here every step of the way. This is the biggest decision you're ever going to make. And then 3 to 6 months later, like, I can't remember that person that I even, you know, bought that home from. And so it's crazy to me, right? Is it not crazy to you? But that's the lip service. So for every one deal, we should be able to get 5.7 additional deals. That's the mindset that I'm in. When I close any person on any one of my services, I want to get 5 additional. That could be from them. That could be HELOCs from them, right? Financial advisors calling it, they find new money, right? Financial advisors, if you have one in your own life, are they not really good about helping you find new money or finding new money from you a lot of times, right? But when you think about that on your end, it could be the refinance, it could be the HELOCs, it could be the move up homes, it could be the investment properties, right? So just within that one client, if it's a really good client, then you can find new money with them. But then again, you should also be getting once every 90 days a referral from them if you do it properly. There are 3 rewards from every one transformational deal, right? And they all start with RE. There's 3 rewards: referrals, reviews, repeat business. You see how like everyone comes to me like, hey, Bruce, you don't understand my business. I'm unique. No, it's not, right? I want to get a referral from that person. I want to get a review from that person, and I want to retain their business for life. All right. So how are you doing that? What are the things that you're doing that? Right now, that could come from marketing. That could come from the events, the client appreciation things that you do. It could come from the birthday messages. It could come from the annual reviews, right? It could come from a lot of different areas, but all of that is simple on paper, but it's not easy. You guys see a lot of business, like everything I'm going through now, it's simple on paper, but it's not easy because why? The discipline, right? The consistency, the chasing the shiny new object. We all have those different types of things. It's the moving in the opposite direction of your negative pole and the world's negative pole, right? Today I don't feel like it. I have to tell my emotions to F off a lot. All right, I just do. I don't feel like, I love this part of my job. Like this is me and my vocation right now. I hope you guys can feel that, right? What I don't love is what? Well, I'm sitting on the tarmac at Chicago Midway because there's tornadoes yesterday for 6 hours, right? I know, world's smallest violin. But you get what I'm saying though, right? Like there's certain things I have to move in the opposite direction of the world's negative pole. And when it's not the things that I enjoy, guess what I don't? I don't do them, right? So there's parts of your business that you don't enjoy, but they're high value activities. And you have to move in the opposite direction of your negative pole, your energy, all that kind of stuff. You're just not going to do it. And I think that's what happens a lot of times, right? It's pretty simple on paper. Hey, I need to talk to these 5 people, right? If you follow theme days, hey, I'm going to call on my potential referral partners on Mondays. Did you do anything this weekend, right? Tuesdays could be calling on your in-process communication. Wednesdays, you're going to be calling on your past clients. Thursdays, you're going to be calling on all those other business type of people. And then Friday's a catch-all, right? On paper, that's pretty simple. I'm going to call the same 10 to 15 to 25 people on Mondays to check in with them to see if they had anybody come in over the weekend, right? Tuesdays, I'm going to call everybody that's involved with my in-process. Wednesdays, I'm going to call on a few of my past clients. Hey, I just want you to know that I'm actively monitoring your loan. I promise you I'll reach out to you when it's time to refinance, because now more than ever, there's vultures circling them, correct? Right? These trigger leads and all these different types of things that are out there, the AI and the technology, right? And so, these are all just different things. It's simple on paper, but it's not easy because it is a lot that's expected of you. That's another thing. I mean, I'm just freestyling today, right? So that's another thing. I want to give a lot of you grace because I did a webinar with National MI a few months ago, and it was called the Miracle Worker Mortgage, right? And one of the people back in Nashville that did a loan for me, my second home, cabin in Gatlinburg. Everybody been to Gatlinburg, Tennessee? It's like where Dollywood is. I call it the Redneck Riviera, right? They got a lot of fun down there in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. All right. So I bought this cabin down there. But I'll just share with you, this top producer that, they kind of refer to her as the Miracle Worker Mortgage. It's like when a loan can't get done, they come to her and she figures out a way to get it done. All right. Now that sounds great. However, what happens over 20 years of that? Man, you're dealing a lot of bad loans, right? You're trying to put together a lot of different types of things. And now in today's world, the Miracle Worker Mortgage is you're trying to put together deals that are really, really hard, but then you're also expected to be a great speaker, maybe. Yes or no? A great marketer. Oh, now you got to be a great digital marketer as well, doing videos. Are you guys with me here? And then you have to be a part therapist as well for your clients and for your own self. If any of you are branch managers, maybe you're doing that. And on top of it, now you got to be a great leader. Does that sound accurate? Right? Is that really fair? Those are like 6 different skill sets that we're asking of you. You got to be a great therapist, a great marketer, a great loan officer, right? A great networker, and a great speaker, a great teacher, a great coach, right? That's a lot. All right. So again, it's easy on paper, but it's not easy. All right. But that does get to the part number 5 here, which is having that entrepreneurial spirit. You wouldn't change it for anything. right? If it was easy, everyone would do it. And that's really what happened in 2020 and 2021. You just woke up and you reacted and everyone was making a lot of money. All right. But now in this market, a lot of you, it's called a false positive. A lot of you are doing more things right today than you did in 2020. Would you agree with that? Like you're working maybe, I'm not saying you're not working hard, but you're working harder on your business of going out there and earning more of the market share. Is that fair for me to say? Right? 2020 is like you just woke up and because stuff is falling into your lap. So you're working more hours maybe, but now a lot of people have forgotten how to be that solopreneur is what I call it. Right? You're solely in charge of your sales, your service, your marketing, and your mindset. You're solely in charge of your opportunity statement, your story, right? You're solely in charge of your prospecting and your follow-up and your client onboarding. And even if you do have help, right? Like you're taking ownership of all these different kinds of areas. All right. So I do believe status sells. I mentioned it earlier. Self-promotion isn't evil, it's necessary. What are you doing to attract more people to your business? I love the Jim Rohn quote. To attract other people, you must become more attractive. I'm not talking about it from a physical standpoint, right? Maybe for the realtors, but in your case, what are you doing from a business standpoint to attract more business to you? All right. To attract more people, we must become more attractive. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. From a marketing standpoint, especially. Don't wish marketing were easier, wish you were like if this is maybe a main pillar for your business where you can fill up this room or rooms like these all over the state of Utah, right? And you can say, hey, I'm going to do a first-time home buyer every 3 months or maybe once a year to start out with, right? I'm going to do some type of business training for my referral partners, once a year. I'm going to partner with my accountant once a year and do tax prep 101, which is like literally this time of year, right? These are all things that you could be doing, and we're going to cover a lot of that. Assuming I get that far, Mike, I kind of told you, man, as you guys can tell, this is a lot. And we have this 3-hour sitting, but it does go by fast. All right. So speaking of that, I want to ask this question. Show of hands, if I go through these 5 habits, how many of you feel like you can get a little bit better at habit number 1? Your pitch, your opportunity statement, being able to articulate yourself and your values. Nice. All right. What about habit 2? Being proactive in your prospecting, actually having an organized database and a target market of people you're going after on a consistent basis. All right. I like it. You guys are coachable, right? Habit number 3, the fortunes and the follow-up. How many of you feel like you got to get a little bit better at follow-up? Can I share with you that's always the number 1, right? Everywhere I go, people are like, oh, no, man, I got this pitch down. I'm good. But then I get to habit number 3, and even the most, even people with a little bit of ego, they're like, I know I can get a little bit better at my follow-up. All right. Habit number 4, the client experience and getting those referrals, those reviews, and maybe retention of the business. Anyone there? Through your marketing, right? I like the marketing part of it's always tricky as I speak as a coach, going all over the country, especially at my banks and my credit unions, because there's compliance, right? And so that's always a tricky one of how are we actively marketing to our past client database to retain them, sort of a thing. And then of course the marketing part of this, which is just you. What are you doing for your personal brand? All right. What about that one? The last one, you getting more attention for your personal brand, for your individual business. You guys are tired of raising your hand. You're like, just sign me up for all 5, bro. We're good. Okay, cool. All right. So when you're looking at it, though, that's kind of your business plan on paper. All right. That's your business plan on paper. So we have about 40 minutes, which is a great time to go through this first habit. And then we have a little bit of a break. We have some kind of food coming in. All right. So give me another 40 minutes here. And we'll go through this first habit. Now, Mike had sent out what we call, I have like these quick read books for all 5 of the habits. And we didn't want to send out all 5 of the quick read books, right? But I think you sent out the first one. Perfect. So some of you are like, yep, I listened to it. Some of you are like, oh boy, here we go. Don't call on me. All right. So, but we did send that out because it's kind of a deeper exercise. When we're talking about why do you do what you do and your past and your experiences and your mentors and your education, the why Bank of Utah and how you guys do it different, that part really, quite frankly, should be easy because that's your traditional value proposition. All right. But what we're going to talk about the first part of this, and I've already kind of shared this with you, but I will say all of you need to have your own individual tagline, right? I shared my tagline earlier, trained, outperform, untrained. 4 words. Is that right? All right. Everybody needs a coach in life, right? I mean, there's 5 to 10 words that I have my little tagline down into. And so at my core, those are my core beliefs. Now, what do you know about core values? Is they don't really change, should they? Unless something like catastrophic happens in your life that like completely changes your perspective on things, your core values. They're called your core values because in your heart, that's what you believe, right? And it might take something, again, just catastrophic for you to like completely redefine your core values. All right. So that's the exercise that I want to do. Now, if I do that exercise and I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you 5 minutes, just write down your 5 to 10 word tagline. A lot of you know, like, what, huh? Right. So it's not an easy exercise. And there's a couple ways for you to get to that 5 to 10 word belief statement. All right. One way is just that. Like you just start writing down different beliefs that you have. Hey, I believe in treating people well. I believe in, showing up on time. I believe in, doing hard work. Right. Those could just be very basic core values, belief statements that you have. But a lot of people, the exercise that they do that really helps them is actually focusing on part number 2, which is your defining moments. Right. So, I mean, I could go back to, like literally, I was mentioning it earlier, my dad passed away with lung cancer. Quite frankly, my dad was a mess up my first 20 years of my life. He was an alcoholic, wasn't around, in and out of jail. So I had a single mom, raised my sister and I. We grew up in a single wide trailer. All right. And I'm not sharing that with you like poor me. That was my upbringing. Right. That was my experience growing up. But early on in my life, because, we had a ton of cousins, but we lived out in the middle of nowhere. And so sports was always my release. So I would literally go back to 8, 9, 10 years old. My earliest memories is I would VHS record athletes. You guys remember the VHS days? Showing my age there, right? So the VHS days, I can't imagine the kids nowadays, right? But I'd be in our living room, very small, right? Watching our little TV. And I would watch athletes like Alex Rodriguez hit a baseball when he was like 18, 19 years old with the Mariners, right? I love Greg Maddux pitching, when he was with the Braves and with the Cubs. They were always on TV, right? There was either TBS or WGN. So I could always watch those day games in the summer. I'm from Michigan, so Barry Sanders, man, juking and jiving, But I would like literally watch these athletes. Ray Allen shoot a jump shot when he was at UConn. Like I had the sweetest jump shot that you'll ever see in your life, right? So I'm literally mimicking these athletes, these successful people in our living room, watching the tape again and again. My favorite pitcher was Justin Thompson, who never turned into anything with the Detroit Tigers. Right, he was just lefty, but I mean, I could literally do his exact windup. All right, and then in the wintertime, I would like literally throw a ball against the couch cushion. All right, so I'm like doing all of it, like throwing it. I did overthrow it once. I mean, more than once, but one time I broke the window, went through the Saran wrap. If you guys know that life at all, all right, and through the window. Mom was not happy. All right. But then in the summertime, I would back up 60 feet, 6 inches, and I would drop a square on a fence, and I would just throw that baseball, single baseball, right? Like literally, that was pretty much all I had. And I would just have to go pick it up because my sister didn't like sports. My dad's not around, right? We're out in the middle of nowhere. But you can see at a very early age, what was I learning? How to be resourceful and how to self-teach myself, right? Fast forward to the age of 29, I get a PhD in human performance, which is what? The study of behavior sciences. And I could never piece it together until I did this exercise. But you see how empowering that is? I didn't just fall into becoming a performance coach now. I learned it at a very, very early age by studying other successful people, particularly athletes, right? And so that is so empowering if we can help you kind of bridge that piece together. So I believe trained always outperform untrained. Why do I believe that? Right? I believe that because I used to study professional athletes, VHS record them in our living room trailer and watch those people again and again and again. And I had to self-teach myself how to do those things again and again and again. And then I figured out what I could do well and what I didn't do well. And now guess what I do all day, every day for other people? That same thing for them, right? How can I help you reach your full potential? How can I help you be more resourceful? How can I help you, go all in on your bigger future? You see how it's much different than I'm Chris Farley in the Van Down by the River motivational speaker, right? Like you guys, as I'm sharing that, do you not have more confidence that I know what I'm doing or what I'm talking about, right? Like people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. What you do simply proves what it is that you believe. So when you sit down with somebody for a mortgage for the first time and you can kind of walk them through some of these different stories, I used to love the VH1 story behind the story. Anybody else in here? Right? But those documentaries, man, I used to just love, and I still do. Like Garth Brooks is my favorite musician, and he has this amazing, sort of a two-part documentary, and he talked about how he raised all the, his basically his hometown funded him to go to Nashville to chase his dream, and within 3 months, guess what he did? Moved back home. And he's like, man, I can't even tell you the conversation my dad had, like loss of respect, right? All that kind of stuff. You took all these people money to go move to Nashville, and within the first few months, you moved back because you couldn't make it, right? Like I want to know those stories. Don't tell me about the stuff that, like, when you made it. I want to hear the grit and the resilience before it. But you guys see how that's going to tie into your stories, into why you do what you do, and then that social identity when you can learn how to connect with people at that much deeper level, right? So some of you, as I'm sharing my story, you're like, maybe you had a similar upbringing, right? Maybe you played, athletics, maybe you're, have an advanced degree, whatever it is, you're like, hey, I resonate in some way with this person. All right. And if you don't, guess what? That's perfectly fine as well. It doesn't make me right or you wrong. It just means that maybe we don't have shared beliefs and we're not a good fit. Have you ever sat down with somebody for the first conversation, like, we're not a good fit, but then you chase them anyways? How did that work out for you? Right? Especially referral partners. Hey, what's in it for me? You guys hear that question a lot, I'm sure. Are you going to buy me leads? Are you going to pay for my marketing? Are you going to do this? Are you going to send me leads? Right? I don't know about you. That's not to start off any transformational relationship. All right. Again, I overshare sometimes, but it's a great example. All right. So, if you've ever been on the dating apps, as a guy, I can tell you when you swipe right and the first question out of her mouth is, what fine dining restaurant are you going to take me to? What should I do? Immediately run. Right? It might have taken me a few times to learn that lesson. However, it's a lesson I had to learn. All right. And so that's why this exercise is so important for all of you, is when you sit down, would you rather know in the first 30 seconds if somebody fits your filter, or would you rather chase them for the next 30 months trying to convince them that you're good enough? I know the answer to that question. That's a rhetorical, right? So it really is like, hey, this is what I believe. This is why I believe it. This is what I do, right? Mortgage is the vehicle with which how I get to go help people, right? Achieve home ownership and all these kinds of things. This is how we or I or us do it differently. This is who we have helped over the past. If we can help you just like we helped all these other people. Again, simple on paper, but not easy, right? These 6 components, but they do touch on every single important component of your marketing message. Your core values married with the story, married with why you do what you do, right? How you actually help people, married with how you do it different, married with that social proof, and then marry that with the ask. All right. So those are the 6 components that I want you to go through. I will come back to this. What I want to focus on right now is you individually. All right. We're going to come back to how you do it differently at Bank of Utah and the social proof. But what I want to focus on is this part right here. I call it turn your mess into your message. Eventually, this is going to be the TED Talk that I do create. And this is going to be the main book that I do write. Don't suppress the past, celebrate it. That's what makes you who you are, right? How can you find, package, and sell your individual special? Now, MESS is an acronym. So I do want you to write this down. I've been telling you guys you can pick and choose what you write down, but I do want you to write this down for this exercise. MESS. So write it on like one line each, right? M equals MESS, or excuse me, M equals mentor. E equals education or experience. S equals struggles. And the other S equals scripting. So M equals mentors, E equals education or experience, S equals struggles, the other S equals scripting. Scripting is your upbringing, right? So, again, like when you're 3, 5, 7 years old, there's a lot of things that get scripted into you at an early age, all right, into your DNA. So it's kind of your upbringing. Hey, did I have a great childhood? Did I maybe not? Am I more naturally optimistic versus pessimistic? I grew up in a household that had very 2 pessimistic parents. So again, everyone thinks I'm like Dr. Positive. I'm not. I have to work really, really hard on seeing the glass is half full. and moving in the opposite direction of the world's negative pole, right? One of the earliest memories that I have at the age of 5 is my uncle coming to our home and taking my dad out of the situation for like the last time, right? These are some just negative scriptings that happen, and they really do. It's kind of hardwired in you, right, at a very early age. So that's the exercise, and within those defining moments, you should start to piece together themes in your life, right? What are those themes? Hey, I've always had a natural, I call them unique abilities. Actually, Dan Sullivan calls them unique abilities, right? Unique abilities are, again, things that just come natural to you. I've always been a great problem solver. Any of you in here, you've always just loved to problem solve? Could be puzzles, could be any number of things, right? Because you're doing that a lot in mortgage. Like a lot of what you do is problem solving and putting together mortgage pieces to try to figure out how to work, make these things work, right? Maybe your intangible is your empathy towards others. Hey, you know what? I've always cared more about others, than I've cared about my own self, and learning more about them and their experiences, right? So these are just different things. My intangibles are when I'm with Bruce, I want his energy to make me think I could do more, right? So those are my intangibles. When I'm with him, I feel like I have more confidence, I have more energy, I want to go do more things. You can see how I got in trouble in high school though, with that energy, right? It's so funny because going back to like, and again, I never really pieced this together. Did you guys in your yearbooks have like, or your classes have like, most likely to do this, right? Mine was I was the biggest brown noser, and I had the most energy, most hyper, I think is they called it that. So I was like, man, I guess I kind of was destined for sales, right? A lot of energy. I know how to brown nose. I know how to schmooze people, right? But at the time, it really made me upset. But you see how those are unique abilities though, because when you're at that age, you're not really thinking about that, like what makes me different and all that kind of stuff. All right, so that's the exercise. And remember, we're not going to solve life's problems in one sitting, right, Johnny? In one 5 to 10 minute little exercise. Most of you are very analytical. Probably all of you. You work in mortgage. All right. So you're going to write it. You're going to rewrite it. It's not going to be good enough. And then you're going to write it again. What I found done is better than perfectly undone. All right. So you start to use it and you start to say, hey, you know what? That's going to be my 5 to 10 word statement. And I'm going to marry it with this story or these two stories whenever I sit down with a potential client or a potential referral partner. And everybody asks me that question, does it change? I don't think your core value should change much. Are you with me there? Like in terms of like who you're sharing it with, when you're talking about this is what I believe, this is why I believe it. Now, how you do it differently, yeah, that's going to change based on if you're talking to a borrower versus a referral partner. But your core values, in my opinion, and this is, you guys can take it or leave it, it really shouldn't change that much in terms of your belief married with the story. So as you can probably tell, I struggle with shutting up, but this is going to be me shutting up right now. And just go through the exercise. Turn your mess into your message. Start to have those defining moments in your life. Maybe start to pinpoint those intangibles of things that have always come natural to you, and then where do they come from? All right. This exercise, it's hard to do in one sitting like this, but I want you to start getting thoughts and emotions and feelings onto paper. So go ahead and take off. Now, do me a favor and get with your partner, get with a neighbor, and just kind of share with them. Again, this is a very, very rough track. But just kind of start to share with them some of the things that we have on paper there. If you have a 5 to 10 word tagline, then great. Otherwise, we just want to talk about again how you got in business or your unique abilities. Just anything that you have on paper with them, just kind of start open dialogue. All right, friends, let's try to bring it back together here. And I would love just to hear some examples and some stories. And I'll be the first to admit, when the reason I love doing this at companies too is, a lot of times you don't get this in depth into your conversations, right? So it is another great way for you as a team building of just getting to know each other a little bit more, sort of a thing. So that's another reason why I really enjoy doing this habit as a collective team, is you guys get to share, open up, and get a whole lot deeper into just the surface level that's happens a lot of times. So when I ask to share, I'm not saying, again, you don't have to have your 5 to 10 word tag on. If you haven't, then great. But if any of you just want to kind of maybe just share, again, anything that you kind of talked about.
My tagline is be your friend and more.
Okay.
I view that as being approachable, being someone that you could call and have an open conversation, not maybe judgmental or anything like that. I want to listen before I talk, and then
Yeah. And I think that's important, when you're dealing with friends and family that want to get a mortgage. And do you guys ever experience that where they're afraid to come to you because they're maybe embarrassed by their credit score or how much money they have in the bank or whatever it is, right? So, your belief statement, I'm your friend in the mortgage space, right? And I'm going to listen, and it's a judgment-free zone. I think that's very important, right? Especially for your sphere of influence, your friends and family, sort of a thing.
It's more than like friends and family. I would want to be a friend to you. I would want to give the same advice that I would give my kids, my mom,
Yeah,
my parents, brother.
yep, for sure, for sure. Perfect. Who else wants to share? Yep. Can you repeat that last part? Sorry. Okay, great. So my feedback, and again, I do this all over the country, do this multiple times a year, and I do them one-to-one with people. No, it's not that. It's both of you still led with mortgage. Are you with me there? You still led with mortgage, right? So you're still going right into mortgage because you've been doing. How long you been doing it for? For 28 years. How long you been doing it for? 23 years. So it's natural for you to still go right into mortgage. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get this exercise is, even going all the way back into like, I fell into mortgage, but why? Like, why did I get into it in the first place? What are some of those, unique abilities? Whether you got introduced through a friend or for whatever the reason is, but there's still something from you, from your differentiation, your unique abilities, your past that got you into mortgage, right? Because I kind of hear it. You guys are still talking about individually how you do it different, right? You're doing it different because you want to be a friend, right? To others, you do it differently. I mean, you mentioned the speed and efficiency and right, and all those kinds of things. But you see how and as a coaching perspective, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, I'm still kind of hearing it how you both do it differently, rather than those core values of something I get from you based on you getting into the industry in the first place. You want to go deeper into that one? Going back 28 years ago? Yeah. Yeah. Well, then that's that, and that's fine. Like that's where, hey, I knew I was supposed to go to college because everyone tells me after whatever the reason is, right? But you still had those unique experiences along the way. And, I bet there's been times where you thought about getting out of the business, right? Or whatever it might be. But that's where I kind of, that's why I love the intangibles of, I've always been a problem solver. I've always enjoyed, again, the empathy towards others or the excitement of mortgage, right? It's always something different. The world's almost always going to end, sort of a thing. At least the last decade that I've coached you guys, like it's always, clickbait is what we call it in today's world, right? Like the world's always going to end like next month, sort of a thing. But that's kind of, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like what's unique about me getting into it or the unique abilities that I have. That's really what I am asking there for that part of it. Yeah.
When I talk to an agent, I would have a completely different pitch than if I'm the first time home buyer, or a completely different pitch than if I'm talking to someone that's built $5 home.
Yep.
I'm not going to have the same way that I talk to them.
Yep. And I don't mind that, Wes, because again, like I want to have different stories that I can pull from. But starting out with this exercise, if you already have all of them, that's great. But the reason we're doing this exercise, though, some of those core values, is a lot of people have never really done this type of an exercise, so they don't even know where to start, right? But yeah, I mean, if you have all three of those, but hey, why do I love working with builders so much, or why do I love working with investors so much, or first time home buyers, or whatever it is, right? Because one thing I'm sure you own a home. I'm making assumptions right now, right? You said you're 28 years into the business. You're 23. I'm sure both of you bought a home at some point, so you can maybe share that experience, right? Hey, I love helping first time home buyers. And then you go back to that time when you bought your first home, right? Sort of a thing, and how maybe that helped you set up yourself financially, right? It could be the stability. Hey, I always grew up in an unstable home, and I never thought maybe homeownership was for me. But you see how these are like actual stories now, where I'm like, when I'm listening to them in front of that person, right? If I'm sitting down with a potential real estate agent, hey, you know what? I love working with top producers and helping solve their problems. What I really like is helping that brand new real estate agent who, they don't know if this is going to be their career, and then I help them, kind of see the way, and within the first year they become a top producer because I have a blueprint to do that. Right. So I'm with you there. Like I can, and for me as a coach, I can pull from all of those. Right. I can pull from, hey, the person that's been doing it for 20 years and they've lost the fire. Right. Who has never lost the fire at some point and became less passionate. And so maybe I do this exercise. Right. It's your vocation rather than it's your occupation. Correct. That's right. That's right. Yep. Yep. Because and again, like I love doing this exercise because what the majority of people lead with is, buying or selling. Again, assuming it's a buyer, a consumer, buying or selling real estate is one of the biggest decisions you're ever going to make. Right. I always hear that when I do this exercise. And obviously I'm not disagreeing with it. But that's still not opening up yourself to be vulnerable and help kind of share some of those personal things. Yep, go ahead.
So I have the benefit, like with Jenny, I've worked with her for 16 years. I would say you're like you want to be successful, and that's why you're still here. It's like you are competitive,
Yeah,
and you want to be successful. So like as you're talking to your people, it's like you also get a lot of satisfaction out of seeing other people become successful. So if you can help your builder like scale their business by providing things, so like, to me, like your core value is like success and excellence. Like that's why you do what you do. I don't really know why that is. It's probably something about it.
yeah, those are those layers.
Yeah. So I mean, just I would frame it that way. Why is it that is what drives me to like do what I do, like trying to be successful and excellent. So
Thank you for that. That's perfect. Yeah. And another part of this exercise that you guys could do is it's called a unique ability letter. So you could write a letter to 5 to 10 people that you've known a long time or that you've worked with for a long time that like, trust, and respect. And you can ask them that question, right? What are my unique abilities? What do you enjoy about our friendship, our relationship? And it could be competitive. Like that's always been mine, right? Always driven, focused, competitive, right? And now because of that, we've become the sum total of the people we hang around the most. And so I've always been a coach, mentor, whatever it is, to other people because of that drive, right? But I think about, hey, if I'm going to move out here to Utah tomorrow and I'm shopping all these different, loan officers, right? Do I want a friend in the mortgage space? Like, yeah, maybe I certainly do. But then I'm also like, do I want somebody that I know is, and I'm not saying this is not you, by the way, but you get what I'm saying? Like if we're comparing those, it's like the competitive person that, hey, there's going to be multiple offers and she's going to get shit done. Part of my French. I said I wasn't going to swear and then I did. Sorry, Mike. You know what I mean? Like I want that ultra competitive, especially in this kind of a market, right? So you guys see though, it's different. Like it doesn't make me right or you wrong. It just means we all have these unique abilities, these free prizes. That there's something that I do get from you. And the question there is, I always think of this like when you have kids, right? It's the why. You keep asking that why. It's kind of like unpeeling onion layers, right? Like why, and then eventually you get down to that core. Well, this is why, and you were getting there. Like you're bringing up your brother and your upbringing, and like you've naturally always had that, sort of that, in your upbringing, in your scripting, sort of a thing, right? For sure. Yeah. I mean, but, and I'm speaking for you right now. It would be like something along those lines of going back to, for as long as I can ever remember, I've been hyper competitive, right? And you don't survive in this mortgage business for 28 years if you don't have some type of competitive drive. Yeah.
Jenny, I had to work on mine for a couple months. I had to come back Right? That's not real. It's the first one I wrote. Like I crossed it out and changed it. It was a journey. So I completely agree with what you said. It is hard. It should be because it's real. It's cool though. It's self-discovery.
Well, I kind of like, I love Eric jumped in
Yes.
and gave me a thought, like, having talking to other people, giving their opinion, thoughts, and then we can learn from other people.
Can you give me more feedback about the letter for the?
Yeah. So if you, I mean, it's literally like a little paragraph where it's just like sending out to 5 to 10 people that you know, like, trust and respect, or that have known you for a long time, and then just ask them that question. Hey, what are, what are the unique abilities that I have? What are some of the things that you really enjoy about our friendship, our relationship? What are some of the things that maybe you've always seen me do naturally well, right, compared to other people? And you're going to start noticing some different themes from that. I know it's weird, and I get it, right? If you want to say, hey, this Bruce guy is making me do this exercise, or Mike's making me do this exercise, feel free to blame us. But I do think you'll start to kind of see some core, like I said, some defining moments, some themes within, all of that sort of thing. Yep.
I would say it seems to me, and I'm along with what Wes is saying, that there is a different pitch because, like, I agree with you. You may find a borrower that you like don't want to work with, and that's fine. But the partnership with a referral partner is going to
For sure.
be a much more like it is okay if like you're like, hey, I'm drawn to this competitiveness thing, so I want to be. If you're a realtor, I want to be a referral partner with someone like Jenny, where, but where maybe like someone that like Tim, just picking on these guys, spoke up, like, hey, the person that he's gonna really connect with as a referral partner is gonna be a different type of
Yep.
realtor, builder, whoever. But then I do think there's like, I guess I'm gonna ask the question, like, there is a transformation where like both of these loan officers I know deliver like excellent customer experience to the customer. And so, like, is there a differentiation? It feels like the net is a lot wider on the specific.
But are you talking about the filter of like who you want to do business? Because you guys can't say no, right? Like if Bank of Utah is like, here's a member of ours in our database, and you're like, no, I don't want to work with them because we don't fit our filter, right? And I'm not saying that. Like, there's always going to be people that we do business with, right? But it's like, how deep of a level do we go with those folks, right? Are they going to be our top 25 advocates? Probably not. But that's why I talk about the filter, right? Like, do you have a filter of the type of people that you're wanting to do business with, right? Whether that's the borrower, whether that's the referral partner. But all this goes back into you have to have having something to say about in that conversation. So if you are meeting with a potential borrower, you guys have heard the book How to Win Friends, Influence People, right? Like the #1 self-help book of all time, probably. People do business with those they know, like, and trust, right? I believe people do business in today's world with people they trust and respect, right? I don't have to love you, but if I trust the fact that you're doing the right things for me, and I respect the fact that you've been battle tested or that you're going to get me into that home, sort of a thing, I'm much more likely to business. So do I want you to know me and like? Absolutely, right? I'm not saying that. But to me, it's the trust and respect are the two most important ingredients. Well, where does respect come from? It comes from you being willing to share more about yourself, right? I believe, like, and Carnegie talks about that in the book. Always be interested in others. We have 2 ears or 1 mouth for a reason. And again, I'm not disagreeing, but in today's world, you need to be interesting yourself. Again, you have to have, there's a reason I'm picking you over all these other people in the space because of that. And so that goes back to having something to say is just as important as having somebody to say it to and leading with that. And I can promise anytime that I don't lead with my tagline and my beliefs, I get myself into trouble. All right. So I believe that it's food time. What I'm going to ask, Mike, so let's get food and let's kind of continue the dialogue, because what I want to get into next is the value prop of your actual company. All right. So we're talking about your individual, and that's the way that I explain this, right? You have your belief proposition, which is much different. This isn't an elevator pitch. right? This is really you and what I get from you individually. And you have to have confidence to be able to share that with other people. And then we get into your traditional value proposition of this is, this is how we do it differently. This is who we've done, sort of a thing. So it's important that you marry those two together. If I can marry my belief proposition with the value proposition, that is very, very important. And I can share a story. One of the top producing, $150 million producers at a credit union out in Colorado, and I've been coaching him now for 7 years. When I first met him, he was at an IMB, right, an independent mortgage bank. He had just left his credit union, so he was there for like 5 years, right? The grass is greener. We've all been there, right? And he just realized he was out of alignment within the first year. Hey, I'm no longer in alignment with what? The core values, my core values and the company core values. Have you guys ever heard the expression, you can't sell the cookware if you don't buy the cookware? It's incredibly difficult for you to go out there and, again, compete in these kinds of markets if you don't have that internal belief married with the company belief. But when you do have those two things, you're going to win a lot more deals, yes or no, than if you don't. And that's why this exercise is so important. And I do think of it as alignment. Like, it really is. Am I in alignment with my core values, the way that I'm behaving and acting, and the different people that I'm wanting to do business with and I'm trying to attract into my life, sort of a thing. So that is the second exercise that we'll do. And then I do need to make sure, obviously, we get into these other 4 habits, right? So go ahead and go ahead. Perfect. I love it. You guys are like, man, this guy is just hardcore. Can't even give us a break. Come on. Company core values, marrying it with your individual, all right? And Eric, one of the things that we were talking about, I didn't mention this, there's a lot of ways to do that exercise that you just did. And one of the other ways that I like to do is just like, you're kind of a theme word, right? So I mean, yours is like connection, right? I hear a lot of people have like community and, but I love that because a lot of times what you'll start to notice is those same key words, you'll notice them in your own, the company core values, right? So even looking at the Bank of Utah core values, our vision, Bank of Utah will be your first choice and most trusted financial partner, providing expert guidance and personalized solutions through our knowledgeable team of professionals, right? So just trusted, right? I mean, that's something that, we want to be your first choice. We want to be the first person that you think about. We want to be that trusted person that you think about, right? We want to give you our expert guidance. We want to personalize solutions based on your specific needs, right? So these are all things, like all of you are, you're kind of talking through that and your core values within that process, right? And then same thing, like we act with integrity in every decision to build trust through every interaction. And so I just think about sort of those core values. So we don't have enough time to really deconstruct this, but I always love to look at it as a business coach, consultant, and kind of highlight key words, within there, right? We want to always do things the right way. We always want to act with integrity. We want to be the first person we think about, right? And so these are all things that you're doing as community leader, yes or no? That's why you're actively involved out there in the community. You're actively serving the other different people and your members within that process, all right? Now, how, from your own words, from a mortgage department, on the mortgage side specifically, how do you do it different? Dr. Bruce comes into Ogden, Utah tomorrow. I want to buy a home, right? And I'm shopping using all these other lenders that are out there. So now we're all there talking about you. But what makes Bank of Utah, the mortgage department, different? You guys are gonna hide behind you're eating. I got you. But frankly, these are the questions. My buddy, I mentioned earlier, I love country music. My buddy's the drummer of Little Big Town. You guys like Little Big Town at all? And he has this awesome concept. We've actually spoken around a different country around. Whenever they go travel, Little Big Town, they travel all these different markets. So we've done a few events, and then we go like take a couple clients to the concert, sort of a thing. But he has this cool concept called the performance moment. And he talks about his audition with Little Big Town, right? He's 31 years old. He's been drumming for 10 or 11 years. He has 4 kids. And like that's a performance moment, man. You want to talk about this is if I don't get this gig, and I'm like, were you nervous? Were you scared? He's like, no, man, I was excited. Right? I was ready. Everything that I had done up until that point, guess what? That was a performance moment for me. And I just think about that for us in business. Every day we have different performance moments, do we not? Right? It could be the call reluctance, it could be asking for the business, it could be the actual pitch, right? But every single day we have some of these different performance moments. So I'm sharing that because every single one of you should be able to quickly communicate what makes us different at Bank of Utah. Would you agree with that? Like you should? My buddy has a concept called I shall not should on myself, right? So yeah, we should be able to articulate that. So that's kind of what I'm asking about.
Bank of Utah is successful because I've always felt like our underwriters, our support staff has always wanted to do the best that they can, and they always look for ways to do loans, not pass on them. You know, that could be, say, we suggest maybe run it, instead of Freddie, go Fannie, or something like that. They don't just come back and say, no, I love it. They did a reason, and maybe give some ideas what we can do to go get that deal. So it feels more like a team effort in supporting us throughout.
How long have you been here, Russ? Well,
You're always putting everyone on blast, man. How long you been here?
No, I remember when we were recruiting Russ, he came into the boardroom, remember that? And I don't remember much about that, except he basically said, I don't like to run into people at Smith's, which is our grocery store, and then so go the other way because they haven't had experience. So it's like it's kind of funny that, like that's really the American basically. And it's just remember, Russ said that was like his mantra 13 years ago. It's like, I don't want to run into this person and then not go the other way. This kind of goes back to the friend thing, but it's like an interesting way of saying it. Like it's the only thing I remember from that. Was that specific?
13 years ago, man, I was just say something. That's cool. I mean, that's what I think about every interaction. That's a big thing. But I love that mentality though, because it's community bank friendly or whatever it is. It's like we're here. That's our competitive advantage, right? Is we're best serving our community as best as we can. We might do it for charitable things, right? There might be other things that you're involved with. You want to find yes though, right? But I mean, I love that. I love that. So all of you in this room, right? Like you're going to do that in your own way of how we do it, whether it's the operation side of it. Hey, when Bank of Utah says we're clear to close, does that carry weight? Right? When you're sitting down with somebody and it's, again, everything's apples to apples. We don't wear we're the cheapest rate t-shirt because there's always going to be somebody out there that is a little bit cheaper, right? That's just the nature of it. However, what is the most important thing to you? Right? Is it the service? Is it the fact that this is your dream home that you're wanting to get into? Well, if that's the case, right, we can help make that stuff happen.
As your career evolves too, I think you learn a lot about how to do it. I wish I could go back and tell my loan officer myself 27 years ago things that I do now. And one of those things is I tend to be brutally honest with people. When you're a rookie loan officer, you want to make everybody, they're like, oh, I can make it a deal. And now, it's gotten to a point where it's like, look at them and go, really? You really didn't? Are you that? They have 6 car loans in 3 months. But when you're brutally honest with people, and learn to make how much more confident you tell them what you think they want to share. When you're honest with them and candid with them and tell them why doing something, they see their trust level is more than
So I think that's the trust and respect. If you have confidence in your own self to be able to have this conversation, does that make sense? Because you've seen it for however many years now. And you've been through all these different scenarios. So I think it's confidence in your own self to be able to have some of those hard conversations. It goes back to what is a great coach too, right? They're willing to have conversations that other people don't have, to do things they don't want to do, and maybe tell them things they don't want to hear, right? So I think it's as much about your own internal confidence as you have gone through. You know, you've been battle tested, you've seen all these different things, and now because of that, me as a consumer, again, I might not want to hear it, but I do trust and respect the fact that you're willing to tell me those things that maybe I don't want to hear. Right? So I love it, man. I love it. And again, this is for you as mortgage loan officers, but it's universal, right? I always want to have that teacher, that coach that challenged me, right? That was willing to have those different kinds of conversations. And so all of you need to be comfortable having some of those tough conversations. And then the social proof. All right. So I'm going to go back to this slide. So how you do it differently, the social proof. How do you leverage the humble brag or the social proof? You know, hey, I'm looking at Rocket Mortgage or one of those companies versus Bank of Utah. You know, from a community standpoint, this kind of goes back to how you do it differently. But I also think of the social proof, which is that personal relationship, right? You're talking to somebody that's not some 20-year-old. And again, it's no offense to those companies. They do an amazing job of training. We can hate on it, but guess what? They train those people coming out. They train them really well with the scripts and the objection handling, all that kind of stuff. Go ahead, somebody. Yep.
I use when like after I doing things similar to what Russ does, interview the customer and talk a little bit, and then identify their needs and wants. I usually go to a loan that I've closed in the past that is very similar to what they're needing or want to do, and tell a story about what their problem was, what their pain or pleasure was, and what they how they came to and how we solved the problem.
We've helped other people just like you do X, Y, Z, right? You know, collectively, this is how many deals we did last year. This is how many deals that we've done over the history of Bank of Utah. That's social proof, right? We have logos and buildings all over the state. That's social proof, right? It's stability within this process. So, you know, for lack of time, we got to move on, right? But this is just one of those exercises that all of you should be able to go through these one by one. These first three are all about you individually, and then how do we do it different, who are we going for, and then learning how to ask for the business. I don't want to skip over the ask because you said it's Russ, right? It's one of those things like early on, I bet you would have said, hey, what's that ask? Right? So I mean, that's always a fun exercise too, which is, you know, if I could tell myself, you know, 20 years later, you know, talk to my individual self when I just got started. But I think that's another one of those things. Like we can't assume anything. I hate being in limbo land in sales. Or just assuming that they're going to use me when they are actually shopping. Right? So, hey, what's stopping us from moving forward? Now, what do we learn? Buyers are liars. That's unfortunate, right? But I still want to at least ask that question as well. All right. So that's the first habit. It only took us 9 minutes to get through it. Right. So here we go. All right. Prospecting, proactive prospecting. Proactive means you cause it to happen. So again, like I can't just sit inside my office and see ratings. I have to be proactively out there seeking out the relationships. I mentioned it earlier, but we have new targets and new leads. Every week when I plan for my week ahead, I use a vision board. And my vision board isn't the house, the money, the cars, you know, but your traditional vision board where you're cutting things out of a magazine. It literally is, who do I want to talk to going into next week? And I proactively always want to have 5 new targets of people. You might not know who I am, right? But this is why I'm reaching out. So sales is a game of numbers. I know that we hate thinking of that in sales and business, but it is. All right. So I want to constantly, every single week going into a week, I already want to have 10 to 15 people on what I call my help list. And then I want to add 3 to 5 new people every single week. And then eventually what starts to happen, you know, the way that my top producing loan officer thinks of it is like you're shoving in a bunch of ping pong balls into a bag, right? And they kind of start to pop out, right? And so that's really what we're trying to fill up that bag. And then as long as we're adding value and we're staying in front of them, and we're adding, we're producing results, then good things are going to happen. All right. So what does a healthy database look like? I'm really big into this year right now is how to build, maintain, protect your database. Right. And again, I know Bank of Utah, they think of it as their database, and it is. But as a business coach, coaching you as individuals, I want you to individually think of it as your own database as well. Are you with me there? Right? So what are you actively doing to stay in front of your past borrowers and your referral partners? All right? So what are you doing to build it, maintain it, protect it on a consistent basis? So a healthy database, I always forget, it's called Dunbar's number. All right? Dunbar's number is you can only have 250 authentic relationships at one time. You guys ever heard that before? Like 250. It's incredibly difficult to manage anything more than that. So that's just, I kind of like that concept. At all times, I want to have, again, I have 25,000 people in my database, but having the real authentic partnerships, relationships, it really is, 200, 250 finite people. All right. Now, another number that I love is called the Dream 100. And I've done this in 3 markets now. I've done this in Denver, I've done this in Scottsdale, and I've done this in Dallas, which is there's 100 influential people in any market. So if I move to Salt Lake City, apparently I'm going to move to Utah. I can say that a lot. But if I'm going to move to Salt Lake City and I'm brand new in my business, I would start with a Dream 100. Who are the 25 most influential realtors? Who are the 25 most influential other types of referral partners? Does that make sense? And then from there, the question is, do they know who I am, what I do, and why? And that's the goal for me. I'm not saying all 100 of them are ever going to use me, but that's what I did in Denver my very first year there. I kind of did that less intentionally and more accidentally. Then I realized, again, looking up a year later, I had 1,500 people organically. And I did a year-end event where we had 250 of the biggest housing, banking, insurance, finance people in that market show up to one of my events. And every single one of those, I don't know where this guy came from, but this is pretty amazing looking at this room. But it was just that, my Dream 100 list of different people. All right?
So is that a prospect in the Dream 100 list?
I get that question a lot. I don't necessarily care. If you're already working with, it really is just the most influential people. So if you already have a handle on working with you, that's great, right? And a lot of you, like 100 seems like a lot. I get it. But yeah, to answer your question directly, if you already have 25 of those of the 100 most influential people, that's awesome. But I just love that sort of that exercise. Whether again it's like looking at the top producing real estate agents. Once again, they're not all going to fit your filter, right? But it's kind of figuring that part of it out within that. So proactive just means I'm intentional. I'm causing it to happen. I'm managing my database. All right. This is where, inside of our software, we have sort of that KPI calculator. Once again, like everyone's like, my business is unique. It's actually it's pretty simple. If you want to be a $20 million producer and your average first sale is 500,000 and your close ratio, your pull-through ratio from application started to funded is 50%, right? Then I can spit out numbers, and then you reverse engineer now, right? Okay, well I need to have 40 transactions, and if I close 50% of the application started, that means I need to have what? 80 applications. So I just love everybody competes harder when there's a scoreboard. You guys agree with that? Right? I want to know what those numbers are. I want to know what the goals are. I'm competitive as well, right? So I wear my little Apple Watch because every day I have 1,000 active calorie goals, right? That I want to hit. And if I don't hit it, again, getting in last night 2 hours on the tarmac or 6 hours at the airport is crazy. It's like, okay, do I need to go walk? Do I need to go do some more steps? Right? Because it's compound effect. Compound effect means if I don't do it today, guess what I have to do tomorrow? Double it. And then the next day I have to triple it if I have 2 bad days in a row. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Is, hey, if my target is to add 3 to 5 new people per week, and I don't add any, but then next week I add 3, I hit my goal. No, because you're still 3 to 5 behind from the previous week. So it is kind of that compound effect within all of it, right? So I'm going to skip over that slide. All right, you guys didn't see that one. So I meant to take that one out, Mike. That's my apologies. All right, but I know that you guys, there might be a conversation around that part of it. What I will say though is the sales is a game of probability. 95% of salespeople don't have a selling system. All right, and again, like right now, people are like, well, there's nobody doing business because the rates haven't done anything over the last 3 years. There's always still these 7 people that you can proactively prospect, yes or no. The 7 Ds, right? These are all deployment, diamonds, diapers, divorce, downsize, debt. All right. So we can always be looking at in our existing databases of people, knowing if any of these things are going on in their lives or their friends' lives. All right. So that's just one thing for everyone to kind of think about when, hey, this person's in their home and they're at that 3% mortgage rate. They're not going to move because that's really what's happening. Right. Well, there's still these other types of people that you might be able to help. So this is my selling system. I love it because every category is a mindset. All right. So like right now, I don't know where your existing databases are. You're storing them in an Excel spreadsheet or where they might be. All right. But this would be, it doesn't matter. You can start to organize your database this way. All right. So B2B versus B2C. B2B are what? Business, referral partners, real estate agents, all those other different types of people. B2C are consumers. But this is the primary cycle. And this is where the content gets a little heavy, but most people really love the selling system. All right. So this is the primary sales cycle for all of your businesses. Number 1, every new target or new lead starts on my help list. I think I can help you. I don't know. Let's have a conversation. Right. So once again, if I have a whole list of 1,000 real estate agents in Utah, like that's a lot. I get it. But hey, I think I can help you. I don't know until I have a conversation. I think I can help anyone with my services. Right. And that's really the mindset for me, my coaching business. I think I can help all of you as LOs. I think I can help all the financial advisors that are out there. Right. So there's no shortage of those opportunities. All right. So help list is this literally that. Everyone starts on my help list. And why do I love the mindset of the help list? It helps me overcome call reluctance. Right? I mean, it really is just say, I have the best interest out for you. I want to meet with you. I want to learn more about you. I want to share my opportunities with you. All right. Now, the process, initial contact, set the appointment, conduct the appointment. Is that not the same for all of them? Right? For any new target or new lead, set the appointment, initial contact, or if they're contacting you, then it's set the appointment, conduct the appointment. All right. And then after that meeting, what do you decide? Is this somebody I want to do business with? Is this somebody I want to help get into a home? Or is this a potential referral partner that I want to work with? Then they go into your fight club. All right. So fight club in your business on the consumer side would be more of like you're fighting to get them into the home, right? So they did the application and now you're starting that in process, you're fighting to get them into the home. All right. On the referral partner side, it might be a little bit different. It's more like I'm fighting to earn that first referral from them. All right, but that's the fight club. You guys understand the fight club, right? You don't talk about the fight club. But I love the fight club. I always get fired up talking about the fight club. So that's going to be habit number 3 that we're going to get into. All right, but again, it's B2C or B2B. It doesn't matter. But think of this primarily as real estate agents or builders, right? Your primary sources of referral partners on the fight club side of it. All right, and then you get them into the home, and that's what's different about my process. Right, a lot of you think of it as a new client, which is what they're in process. I don't think of it that way. Because what are you doing? You're just fighting to get them into the home. You're just doing what you should be doing. And a deal isn't a deal until it's a deal. I think a lot of you would admit that, right? Say it's trigger lead world and all this kind of stuff. It's like, man, I got to continue to fight for that business. And once I'm at the closing table, I'm giving them the keys. Okay, now they start the process of a new client. All right, which is habit number 4 that we're going to get into. But then what is the goal within those first 90 days? And, there's ways for you, like there's built-in, I guess I'll save it for habit number 4, all right? But the goal after 90 days is to ask myself, is this a promoter or an advocate? All right, a promoter says good things when solicited. An advocate, do you guys not know an advocate when you have one? Right, your biggest cheerleaders that are out there cheerleading for you right now? Right, they're fighting battles for you right now. You don't even know they're fighting. Like I want to have 25. I want to have as many people as I possibly can in my life that are those. All right. So the example that I like to think of though is, hey, I'm coming out to Utah. So I was out in Park City last month as well. And I might just do that exercise. I might either reach out to the people that I know that already live here, and I might say, hey, out of all the bars and restaurants, where do I need to go to? And so people might like, hey, if I post on Facebook, think of it as this exercise. I posted on Facebook. I'm going to be in Park City next, in 2 weeks. Where should I go? What happens to my Facebook feed for anybody that's been to Park City? People comment, right? Like, you should go here. Maybe try here. What happens if it's somebody that I know, like, trust, and respect, and they pick up the phone and say, hey, out of all those places that I saw on your feed, you got to go here. Where am I going to go? To that place. You see how that's a difference, right? So promoters are good. They give us a healthy business, but it really is those advocates, man, that go out there and really allow us to really blow up our business, right? So once again, everyone's like, well, my business is unique. Are we all in agreement? This is the sales process, right? Everyone's business, helpless, the Fight Club, to new clients. And then the goal is to convert all of our new clients into promoters. I'm not saying it's always going to happen, right? But as long as we're doing everything that we can to make that happen. And then we have our biggest advocates, all right? So I would love, again, if you're just starting to think about how to organize your database or hit your key performance indicators, right? Hey, I want to have, 3 to 5 new people on my help list every single week, sort of a thing. But that's the primary cycle. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more advanced, all right? The secondary. So think of these as income producing activities, and think of these as, other people of influence. So my connectors. Connectors are of the other B2B types of people in your life, which could be financial advisors, they could be insurance agents, they could be your mortgage insurance folks, right? They could be other loan officers. How many of you do other business other loan officers? Because you guys have products that they don't have, right? I mean, don't miss that. I see so many people at credit unions and banks skip over that piece of it. Even on the call to the potential referral partner, hey, right, you're a top producing real estate agent. I just want you to know that we really specialize in this product. I actually do a lot of business with this loan officer. Insert that loan officer name here, and they're a great loan officer, right? I'm not trying to steal their business. I just want you to know that we do this kind of business, right? So you don't have to burn that bridge and to say these are the different ways. How many of you have a kick butt? Said it there, Megan. How many of you have a kick butt title rep? All of you should, right? All of you need to have at least 1 or 2 really good title reps. Because why? They know all the agents. They have their pulse on the market. They have all the data, right? So instead of them buying you coffee or lunch, what should you be doing? You should be buying them coffee or lunch, right? So all of you need to have that one person in your life as well. All right. So I'm actually going to meet with Angie Flint. Anybody know Angie? So small world, right? First national title last week, which is an underwriter. And so I follow everything that I practice. All right. But you got to have great connectors in our business. You got to have great connectors. All right. I want you to have, so this is me telling you what to do. Because I found a lot of times that coaches want to be told what to do. I love going to the group workouts like F45 or Lunch Theory, or I really love Core Power Yoga, which they have in Salt Lake City, because I just want to be told what to do. All right. So my KPI for you would be, do you have 25 connectors right now in your business? Those could be any number of different, again, insurance could be roofers, it could be, gutter repair services. I mean, do you have different people that can directly connect you with your target markets of people, which are who? Real estate agents and other consumers, right? If I go back to this slide right here, right, it could be anybody that can directly connect you with these 7 Ds right now in this kind of a market, right? So just thinking out loud here. Climbers. So, yeah, go ahead. Oh, shoot. Just when I thought I had life figured out. Perfect. Okay. So climbers. So I'm coming, I'm driving in from Salt Lake last night. I didn't realize Weber State was here, right? So I always love college towns. But I'm bringing this up because what's stopping me from going into that college town and saying, hey, you know what? I want to meet with all the doctors or all the lawyers or, the people that are going to be graduating next year. Because what do the averages tell me? Successful people, doctors, lawyers, those kinds of people within the next 2 years, what's one of the first things they want to do? Buy a house, right? So what's stopping me from being the person that goes into, develops a relationship with that professor and says, hey, you know what, once every year I just want to do a first time home buyer seminar for this specific group of people, right? And then I didn't get with Mike on, if you have a certain medical loan or something like that. I'm not saying that you do, I have no idea. All right. But again, like that specific target group of people, and this is why we should be doing business, right? So you see how you can start to develop. The climbers are really what? The first time home buyers, but successful ones that are climbing that ladder of success. Because I don't want their one deal. What do I want? The lifetime of their deals. And do any of you believe in law of attraction like I do? Who do climbers hang out with? Other climbers, other young hustlers, right? So I just think that I love that mentality of going in and like, hey, who are those up and comers? Because I don't want I want the lifetime of their deals. But you could also think of this as real estate agents. What's the best way to build a referral partner relationship? Get in there early on, right? I see so many like, hey, you know what? I'm trying to earn this business from this top producer, and their loan officer was in their wedding 5 years ago. You get me? Like, it's like, good luck breaking up that relationship, sort of a thing. So, I love to identify who are the top 5 to 10 up and coming climber real estate agents, and how do I become their go-to mortgage banker? All right. Are we thinking a little bit different though right now in terms of like how to build out our databases? I hope we are. Someday people. So someday would be, they were on your help list, your fight club, and you did you did the pre-approval, you did the application, and what did you learn? You know what? They're more like a year away or 2 years away, and that's fine. I still want to help them. But how many people, again, you stop marketing to that person? This is where the real estate agents are terrible, by the way. All right. It's like, oh, no, they can't get into a home in the next 90 days. I've already moved on, sort of a thing. Imagine if you could help. Remember that adding value? Imagine if you went to a real estate agent and said, hey, you know what? On average, you're going to have 30 conversations a month, and only one of those are going to turn into an actual client. What are you doing with those other 29 people? What are they going to tell you? Nothing. I don't know. What if you're like, well, hey, what if we helped, stay in front of that person, with you, sort of a thing. So that's a value add right away. And you can even call it someday, right? Like, hey, these are the stats behind this. On average, we're always helping people with the credit repair and do this and that and the other. And we're gonna best represent you within that process. All right. So someday people were on your help list, your fight club, and then recycled out. And when I say recycled out, though, it means it's further down the road. It's more like a year or 2 years or 5 years away. Would you guys agree? Sometimes those are the most, like, I don't know, like meaningful deals that get done. Because you're like, man, I worked for that one. I stayed in front of that one for a long time, right? We help them kind of change their lives, and they're internally or eternally grateful because of that. All right. Aspirational would be those 3 to 5. It could be the whales. It could be the top producing real estate agents. It could be the top builders. It could be human resource departments. Where you go into it could be like admissions at Weber. It could be any number of things. Right? It's going to be like, hey, these people relocate. I think about the military bases close by, isn't it? Right? So, do you guys do the VA? Do you guys do VA loans? Yeah. So, like, imagine getting in with those. Getting in there. Like, would that not be aspirational? Like, you can become like a go-to for that kind of a thing. And then the Nexpert category. The Nexpert is like literally that's the book I wrote when I was 25 years old, and I just love the idea of once a week I spend time with talented people. And I just want to pick their brain, man. Just want to learn. When it's same stuff, different day, right? I can just learn from them. It could be business owners. It could be other top producing LOs. It could be top producing real estate agents. But it goes back to genuinely caring, right? So we were talking about that. You have to genuinely want to have that connection with them. But do you guys see how intentionally I built my database, 1,500 people, moving to a brand new market? Because I had a selling system. And now I consistently market to this exact selling system. Maybe some would say maybe too much, right? I'm constantly trying to give free content and free content and free content and do webinars and do all these different types of things. All right. Any thoughts, comments, questions about this selling system? I did it like micro machine really, really fast. I say Micro Machine. You guys remember that Micro Machine guy that talked really, really fast back in the day, right? But any thoughts or comments about the selling system? Are any of you really following a selling system right now? Early on, nobody. It was me, solopreneur, right? When you launch a business, it's like, what choice do I have, right? I'm just gonna get this stuff done. But yeah, over time, you do figure out, like, do I dump it or do I delegate it, right? There's like 3 Ds. Do I do it? Do I dump it? Do I delegate it? But yeah, I mean, early on, I just had to do it. But now I do have a VA, right? I have a personal assistant that helps me manage a lot of this stuff for sure. But quite frankly, I have systems. Again, I don't want to get into the CRM word and all that stuff, but I have ways to where it's like I'm getting them into my database. I want to have as many people in there. And then how do I just consistently stay in front of those people, right? So, I mean, that's the goal, is we all want to have as many people at the top. It's called, the funnel system, right? The top of the funnel, right? All of you want to have as many people as you possibly can coming into your life in some way at the top, help list, right? And then the middle is where you're just consistently engaging with them, whether it's education or whatever it might be. And then eventually what happens at the bottom is you have that call to action, right? So it's like in your email signature, you have the apply here now thing. Maybe you have some type, I use Calendly, for instance. It's like, if you want to spend time on my calendar, click here. Because I think isn't that kind of a goal for all of us as well, is at a certain point, you just want to wake up and have, 3 to 5 high value appointments on your calendar every day, right? Like my goal, my KPI is I need to have 6, unless I do something like this, this is a high value activity for me, right? This is the multiplier. And we're gonna get into that here in a little bit, like the events that you attend or these types of seminars maybe that you're doing. But otherwise, I need to have 3 to 5 every single day. So, I mean, the short answer, the long answer is I've done all of it on my own. But then I also have somebody that kind of helps me manage some of this stuff now, for sure.
Wes, I like what you were saying. I think I know a little bit where you're going. And accountability partner is what I would call it. And one of the secrets I've learned is I was always kind of waiting for that to happen. And I found, like, with my own doctors, I finally realized I'm responsible for my health, not my doctor. Like, I can fire my doctor if it's not working. And so I had this account I've been trying to get in with years. And I don't know if you guys are the same. I've become incredibly good at ignoring reminders on my calendar or pushing them off or moving them to a different memo. And I was like finally going, this is a big deal. If I got this client on, it would move the needle for me, like my sales goal. I need to spend time on it. So I enrolled someone intentionally, very tenacious, and said, will you once a week check in with me on this and ask, stop, do something right now on this specific task. And I said, is there something like I could do that for you? And he was like, no thanks, but he's done it for me. And I've moved the needle. I'm about 6 weeks into it. But I tell you, it has changed my habits. And you are what you do.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's an incredibly powerful tool. You need someone to help you.
Well, I can give you an example. So last week I did a webinar and we had over 100 people attending, right? So it'd be easy for me to take those 100 lists of people, which I have, and just put it into my CRM and just say, okay, I'm going to drip on them. Instead, what do? Like literally on again, I hate to bring up this nightmare story yesterday at the airport, right? I guess it's one of those things that it forced me to kind of sit down and do it, right? So it's a positive. But I was going through I think it was like 93 people, right? Because there's some people that were already in my system as anyways. But it's like 93 new people. And I went and added them on LinkedIn because that's my main source that I want to engage with them at. And then I just did a very basic follow-up email, right? Now ChatGPT and tools like that exist. I'm not saying you use them for compliance reasons, all right, but I can, all right? So I use stuff like that, warm email around this. And I might think, I love the PS button, right? So I use the same script. Does that make sense? With all these different people, all 93 of them. And then if it's somebody that I personally know or have a relationship with in some form or fashion, or know something about them personally, I do like a PS, right? Like, PS, man, your Braves suck so far, right? That was one of the things that I did yesterday, the Atlanta Braves. And like, if you're an Atlanta Brave fan, right? But you sound like they know that I'm paying attention, right? It's not just a canned email as well. But guess what? I'm not relying on anybody but me to do those activities. So I get it, man. It's a lot of work. Trust me. Trust me. Okay. Well, so once again, purposes of time. I will say that I reset at 0 though, and I think that's another part of this. Is I love being able to add all these people because I have numbers that I want to hit. I'll just share with you. I want to have basically 300 to 500. I would just say 500. I want to add 500 new people into my database every month. Now I'm a speaker. I can get like all different types of people. I get it. Maybe your number's 10. I don't care. But either way, like, that's the question. How am I adding new people into my database? And then it's fun. And I have a scoreboard tracker that says you added this many people over the last week, over the last month, over the last quarter, over the last year. And what are those numbers? It's predictability. Does everyone in here want to have a predictable business? Right? That's what those KPIs allow me to do within all that. So, but I reset at 0 every day. I have this concept that I started about 7 years ago. Within the first year of me launched my business, called the 4-hour workday. Because honestly, like, I haven't even talked about time block. That's the number one challenge that I see all salespeople have. Would you agree with that? Time management, time block. How do I find time for all this kind of stuff? And so I created a 4-hour workday. I want to be proactive by noon every day. Right. So 90 minutes is me taking care of my personal well-being. I'm a big Stephen Covey whole person theory. Right. We're made of a body, a mind, and a heart and a spirit. Right. So I do. That always cracks me up when I say that. I do 60 minutes of something for my body. That's typically just exercise. All right. 30 minutes for my mind. So it might be listening to something on audio, and then 10 minutes of gratitude. Right. Loving on myself, the affirmations. Right. So that's 90 minutes a day on that. And then I do 90 minutes on professional development, which is literally this selling system. Right. So it's going to be like, hey, Mondays are going to be for Helpless Fight Club. Tuesdays might be for my new clients and my promoters. Wednesdays could be for my advocates. Right. But I mentioned it earlier. A lot of mortgage people love theme days. So it's like Mondays are for my existing real estate agents. Did you have any good conversations over the weekend? Anybody I need to help out with? Does that sound accurate? Right? Maybe you're doing it during the weekend, and that's completely fine. But a lot of times it's basically that. And then again, Tuesdays might be more of a status updates with everybody that's involved within the loan. Wednesdays could be for those past clients, all the different types of past clients that you've worked with. I know some people choose a letter of the alphabet. So if there's 13 weeks in a month, right, there's 26 letters in an alphabet, 2 letters per week. That gets you through your entire database. So every first week it's going to be A and B. Every second week it's going to be C and D. You get what I'm saying, right? So you can go through it that way, and then that way you're constantly reaching out to different people that way. All right. Thursdays, again, all those other types of people. All right. But 90 minutes, I would just say at the bare minimum, if I'm telling you what to do, 60 minutes of proactive prospecting every day. Proactive means it's outbound. You're sitting down and you're making outbound conversations. And if you have your week planned out ahead of time, right? So that's the other thing. The biggest missing structure that I see LOs have is you roll into Monday without a plan. And then you're like trying to figure out your plan on Monday morning. And it's like, how's that working out for you? Rather than, spending 30 to 60 minutes over the weekend saying, hey, these are the appointments already on my calendar. These are the people I want to reach out to, right? I already have those lists of 10 realtors that I'm trying to earn their business from, right? So now it's like, it's already preset during that 1 hour, and it takes out the confusion and the intention. So I'm throwing a lot at you. I get it. All right. Some of you guys are like, man, this guy's intense. I try to be fun and positive too. All right. And I can promise you the reason I create this 4-hour workday, it's not because I enjoy it. I'm like monkey mind, man. I'm jumping from one idea to the next, just like the majority of you are. I do it because I have to. Right. The time blocking creates the autonomy for me. So that's that, 60 to 90 minutes of proactive prospecting, 30 minutes is spent every single day on my marketing, what am I doing to become more attractive, right? So maybe once a week you're doing handwritten notes. So that's when you're doing your birthdays and your anniversaries and your thank you for the referrals. All right. Maybe one day a week you're creating content. Hey, I want to create 30 minutes of content around the frequently asked questions that I get as a mortgage loan officer or the things that I see going on right now. All right. One of the things that I literally just created this morning for our entire mortgage loan officer database is an email template. And it's basically like how to tariffs, right? Like everything that happened yesterday. I'm not talking politics whatsoever. All right. I'm just saying, how does this impact you as a mortgage loan officer? And how does this maybe impact your database, right? Because there's real life current events that happen all the time in your business that you should be the ones doing what? Educating your past clients on, right? I'm not saying you talk about the rates or anything like that, but you can just say, hey, if you're interested in learning more about how this might be impacting you and your loan or refinancing, reach out to me here. Because if you're not doing it, is somebody else doing that on your behalf? Or not your behalf. Somebody else is doing that. All right. So don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Somebody else is probably doing things like that. And again, Mike, if I'm misspeaking, I'm sorry. Because I know that marketing, it's like, does the email need to be approved before I send it out? All that kind of stuff. All right. Yeah.
What's the reality? So, this is great to create more business. More business creates more loans.
Correct.
Creates more conditions. More conditions creates more anxiety. More anxiety creates more stress. More loans create more LARs. More LARs create more business committee conditions. In our world, it's not a utopian environment.
For sure.
The market is out for business, but what business creates a ton more work.
Yep.
And so, how do you balance the work aspect and continue to drive? Because I've had great realtors that I've actually lost because I've gotten so busy.
That's right.
Well, 2 weeks. Number one, I hit complacent and I don't keep working on it. And number two, you get so busy that it's hard to do
That's right.
all the touches.
Yep.
So how do you balance that?
I think it's having that conversation that you just said is am I just not doing what I should be doing? I got complacent, or is it truly I'm too busy, right? And then if it's too busy, that's where, and I'm not trying to spend Bank of Utah's money, but it's like if you're a top producer and you get to a certain level, and it's like, well, I need somebody that maybe help me with some of these different types of things.
Well, and then it's always the rate after. The rates were set up before it was easy business.
Correct.
Sub 5 and sub 6, different business, sub 8.
Yep. Yep.
So we can go out and market and spend money, but if there is no business out there to be done, we're spending money that isn't resulting in business.
Well, I think that's what you're talking. Like, are we talking about busy work then? From like bringing an application and whether or not the person even qualifies? Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got to figure out how to spend money effectively.
Yep. Yep.
But if we get stats on what's selling, we back up.
Yep.
And you can go out and do a lot of marketing, but in a small market area, there's always somebody that's walking in the door who's to be walking out.
Yep.
And working on that same road. So, and if they're not busy, how do you make sure that we get there?
Yeah. And I think that's what I'm trying to get to with all of this is it's a structure, it's systems, it's habits. Like every day I have non-negotiables, right? So when I'm talking about that 1 hour that's a non-negotiable for me to be proactive in my prospect and try to attack those 250 people, right? And then there's going to be other people, other things that happen. And then, everything is situational at the end of the day. When I'm breaking these habits down, Russ, I'm not saying that it is going to be perfect or that it's even attainable. Like that's kind of what I'm sharing is you have to figure out where you're at in your business, right? So your business is going to be different than somebody else's business in this room, right? So that's what I was kind of sharing earlier. You have to pick and choose out of all this stuff that I'm covering, what's the most important for you right now within your business.
You can break it down on a quantified basis. I can't manage 250. I want 20 realtors to live in one building.
Yep.
And that is a manageable
Correct. Yep.
system.
But I'm just thinking about all these other, you know, your friends and your family, your sphere, like all that's kind of included in there. Does that make sense? It's not just your business. It's like just in general relationships. You know, like that's kind of the Dunbar's number is you have 250 people in your life that you're consistently engaging with in some way. And anytime you add one person to that, again, it kind of pops out like you kind of remove someone from there. And so that's kind of what that number is because yeah, I have over 20,000 and I have different, you know, and this might sound negative. It's not meant to sound negative at all, but we all go through different seasons as well, right? Somebody that was important to you 20 years ago that you had a great relationship with, you know, they might not be that same person today. But that's kind of that mindset is I'm constantly like looking at who do I want to add within those relationships, within my help list, right? Do I have the right people? You know, that's why I treat my database like it's my legacy. I think of it as that. Like if I were to, you know, pass away, like who's out of all these people in my database, who's coming to support, you know, Bruce, sort of a thing. So we unpack a lot there because I get that question a lot, right? For sure. But what we're trying to help with is more than anything is, again, kind of going through that filter of what's most important for you at this point in your business, right? And if you are overly busy, and that's a good thing, by the way, like I'm seeing the opposite, right? I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people right now, they're like, I don't know what to do. And I feel like I've tried everything, you know, sort of, does that make sense? Like, so if you guys are busy, that's great, man. Like just keep doing what you're doing. I've always loved the Rev Run quote, do your best, forget the rest. Right? So as long as you're not being complacent and as long as you are doing the things that you should be doing, then we can't be all things for all people. Sometimes the harder we work, the less we work, you know, when it comes to that. So if you have a system that works and you're feeling like you're doing a lot of these things right, then great. But the other part of this is like, again, kind of, it's like do it, delegate it, dump it. So the busier you get, it's like, hey, do I need to bring somebody on to help me? But then it's like, well, we don't have the money, the funds, the resources to do that. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there for sure. I'm just trying to go through like, what does a perfect business look like on paper? And it could be like an hour per week on each of these kind of theme days.
So you're talking about working on your business is always like 94 hours.
Yeah.
And then there's also work with individuals.
Correct. The current of the urgent is what it's called, right? The current of the urgent is this is the most important thing because I got to rescue this deal. And if I don't rescue it, my referral partner's gonna be pissed off, right? So I get it. Yes. But if we constantly live that way, it's gonna be constant chaos as well. So that's kind of like these systems. It's like it's breaking that down in like a simpler context. Hey, you know what? I understand that this deal, this is going on. I just want you to know I'm in this meeting right now, and I promise you I'm going to get back to it. Right. So I know that's hard for a lot of you to say yes or no. Right. So it's like, hey, I have my boundaries. I have my daily non-negotiables. And I promise you at this time, I'm going to come back and we'll get that solved for you. Right. Or you do maybe have somebody on your team that helps out with that kind of stuff for sure. Right. Or if you just have done such a great job where hey, I don't need to proactive, like maybe habit 2, proactive, you don't need to. You know, I already have a great database. They already know me, like me, trust me. They're sending me the referrals. As long as I deliver and all that, that's fine. Right. But again, I'm kind of going back to if you're newer in the business or you're not hitting the numbers that you want to hit, we need to add more people to the database and we need to actively manage that database. Yep.
We come from northern northeastern Utah, so it's not like Salt Lake. We don't have real estate offices on every corner, and most of the realtors are part-time. So the offices are empty. So what we try to do is we did things like took the law enforcement grant, and then we met with the HR department, sheriff's department. We went to the prisons. We go to the first responders. So we bypass the realtors because for us, there's just maybe 1 or 2 top producers.
Yep.
And so we had to go out and find different directions.
Yeah.
To get our business going. But so those are the people that we call. It doesn't always have to be just
For sure.
real estate.
That's right.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned earlier, like even other loan officers. I mean, the whole goal here, and I probably won't get to it, but habit number 5 is all about you're the person of influence. I want to be the first person anybody thinks about when it comes to anything to do with housing, banking, or finance. Is that accurate for me to say? Right? And then we can direct them to somebody else if we don't have the answers for it. But yeah, I mean, every market's a little bit different, especially in the different states and things like that. But either way, it's like, okay, proactively, who do I want to be talking with? And if you get to a point where you already have your database and it's set and you're rocking and rolling, then yeah, maybe you don't need to be adding all these. But what I found, people get out of the business, right? Life changes, things happen. And so, you get to a point where you're relying on that one referral partner, and that one referral partner, something bad happens, they just start using somebody else. And now it's like, oh my goodness, what happened within, my business sort of thing. So I'm constantly adding new people because churn does happen. Yep.
So something I want to ask is, in your model, you've got this mindset circle.
Yep.
And one of the things I think is a blessing and a curse of this business is there's always work to be done. So whether you're working in the business because there's so much deals, or there's no deals, like you can always fill your 8 hours or 10 hours a day, because it just sometimes means you're doing something different. But what I've noticed is it becomes really hard, I think, for humans, loan officers, all of us, doesn't really span sales and other things, of like having that mindset of when like there's nothing to do. Like if you've had this really busy week, things are coming at you, you're solving problems, you're getting deals done, then the next week shows up and you're like, what do I do? And so like, how do you implement that mindset? Is it all about the system? Is it about the habit? Like, isn't mindset honestly the most important thing? Because if you have the wrong mindset, or you're feeling like you're defeated or you didn't close a deal, it's really easy to get into this mindset of like coming up with all the excuses. So like, how do humans overcome that?
Yeah. I think we all go through that cycle of, like I mentioned earlier, right? Like what percentage of the things actually go right? Things work out best for those who make the best of the things that don't work out. And I do think that's something that we all go through from a business and a sales perspective, with all of it. But again, that's what I'm trying to go back to. It's like, if I'm sitting around on a Monday and I'm like, man, I don't know what to do today, that's a problem. So I want to proactively plan for things like that. But then if I can just wake up and react, like I want to be so proactive that I can become reactive. If that makes sense, right? I want to be so proactive in all these different areas that I just naturally do it. Hey, I have a 30-minute down period right now. What's the highest use of my time? Does that make sense? Right? Versus, man, I need to find something to do. And I know, like, hey, it's Tuesday. Tuesday's a great day to do this particular activity, sort of a thing. Or, you know what? I didn't do anything today to make myself more attractive from a marketing standpoint. Or, the fourth time block is the database management, right? Operationally, is my database, everybody that I talk to today, are they in my Excel spreadsheet or, eventually CRM, sort of a thing. But that's kind of what I'm getting. I think everyone would agree the 4 pillars of any business, it goes back to, taking care of yourself first. And I think that's part of that mindset of, you are your greatest asset, yes or no, right? Like if you're not inspired or motivated and you're just going through the motions every single day, it's going to be really, really hard for you to go out there and earn more business or be that advisor for other people. So that's why I'm so big into, again, whole person, taking care of yourself first. And that's why I had that built into the time block. But then going from there, it's like, well, hey, I know I need to proactively reach out to the outbound activities, right? Unless you have so much incoming demand for your time, energy, resources, then that's great. But I would say over 80% of loan officers right now don't have that. And so that's where it's like, okay, what am I proactively doing to cause it to happen for an hour a day, sort of a thing. Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
And so if you have those habits set, then when even if you have a meeting, you can't get to, but you'll never have that or living down. You don't know exactly what.
Yep. Thank you. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, point
Sorry, I'm going to come close to you guys because the online. No, you're good.
On first mentor in business, your mindset should be this, either working on loan or working on getting.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
Yeah.
what you're providing for us today.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. Yep. So reset at 0 every day, right? I mean, that's kind of in a perfect world. We're resetting at 0. Whatever I did yesterday, whatever success I had yesterday or failures, it doesn't matter. I reset today. And if you do that consistently, right, every day, week, month, quarter, good things are going to happen for us. But that is, talking about like the progress, because that's what started happening to me in my business. I get to the end of the day, and there's always a list of things that I didn't get done, right? There's always a list of tasks. And it's called the frustration gap, right? This is where I am. This is where I want to be. Anybody live in that gap, right? Frustration gap. I want to live in the celebration gap or the progress gap. This is where I started. This is where I got to in celebrating all that. And so that's really what this 4-hour workday did for me is like, hey, every day I need to do something for my personal development. Every day I need to do something for my professional development. Every day I need to do something for my marketing development. Every day I need to do something for my operations development. And if I could do all that proactive by noon, and then the afternoons, I do put out the fires, right? Or I handle the boomerang calls, the calls that were outbound that came back in, or I'm going and I'm setting those outside the office appointments, right? I'm attending the events. And so it's just, it's not perfect, right? But it is like, man, if I can consistently do, these different types of things, this vision board for me, I love it. So this is one of those, on Friday, my theme day is when I fill out those targets of people, right? My help list, my fight club, all these different people. And Russ, to your point, they shouldn't change all that much. You have your top 25, you have your, but there might be people that you take off. There might be people that you add. But on Fridays, this is what I do is I pull up my weekly vision board. And if it's green, guess what it tells me? I talk to that person, right? If it's not green, what does it tell me? I have not talked to that person or I didn't record the activity. And so this is literally another accountability tool that I do is on Fridays, I just pull this up. Is there any new leads that came in that I haven't talked to yet? Is there any referral that came in that I didn't thank them yet? Right. And if not, this is like a catch-all. Are there any realtors that I need to follow up going into the weekend? Sort of a thing. Right. Hey, I saw that you have an open house going on. So this is just another gamified approach to that. All right. So think of this. I know we're already into Q2 now, but think of all this as like your sales plan. You have your key performance indicators. You're organizing your database. You're proactively prospecting for an hour a day, right? You're 80% of your week's plan going into the week. I know it all sounds great, but I promise you can get there. And then your life runs a whole lot smoother every single day throughout that process, okay? Now, the third and final part here, and we have exactly 15 minutes, so there's no way we're getting through the 5 habits, but I appreciate the open dialogue because these are the real life conversations that you guys are having, okay? Now, the Fight Club follow-up, and this is the mindset, right? Your positive energy has to be greater than the negative energy you're going to face, all right? So that negative energy could be your own self-talk. I'm not good enough. Johnny, you were sharing it, right? Like all the reasons I should be following up with this person, but I don't have something to say. I just followed up with them last week. They didn't reply, right? They're ignoring me, whatever it is. But big-time people require big-time follow-up, yes or no? Right? An object at rest will stay at rest unless acted on by an outside force. We have to be that force. Big-time people require big-time follow-up. All right? You can't be afraid to go for no. There's this really, really amazing short book. It's called Go for No. All right? I'll synthesize it in 30 seconds or less. Essentially, there was a study done that the top producers at any company actually get told no more than anybody else at the company. Because why? They're asking for it. They're going after it. They're having more conversations, right? So there's a direct correlation. Again, I hate being in limbo land. I would much rather you tell me no, I'm going in a different direction, rather than me, with my hat out, please use me, please use me. That's exhausting, man. That's an exhausting way to live. And I love, have any of you guys ever done the DISC profile? Right? A lot of salespeople are high D's and high I's. High D is like you're driven, right? You're competitive. I want to go have success. High I is you like the influence. You need to be liked. Do any of you watch The Office at all? Right? It's like, I don't have to be like, or I don't need to be like, I must be like, or whatever it is that Michael Scott says. Right? But I'm kind of that way. I'd always I got to go convince everyone. And if they don't like me, then I got to try to energy up and try to convince them that I'm good enough. And again, that's an exhausting way to live. All right. So I can't be afraid to go for no. I don't want to get caught in the friend zone. There's a lot of dumb dating analogies that work in sales as well. All right. So this is like our fortunes in the follow up. It's a touch with value, right? Money changes hands when problems are solved. The more problems you can solve, the more money you're going to make. And so that's really every single day. I'm just constantly looking at what is the problem that they actually have. And then how can I come in and solve it better than anybody else that's out there? All right. Now, why are we poor at follow up? To me, it's one of these three reasons. All right. We didn't follow through on something we said we were going to do in the first place. So too much time has elapsed. And now you feel like a bozo. Anybody ever been there? I said I was going to do this. I said I was going to follow up, and then I forgot. 3 days later, oh my God, I already broke the promise, right? So to me, it's follow through. Follow through is just as important as follow up. Did I make and keep commitments to myself and to other people? All right. Number two, which is kind of an extension of number three, I don't want to be a nuisance. Anybody guilty of that one? You know what? I'm following up with these same people and getting ignored, getting ghosted, not getting a reply by the same people. All right. So to me, that goes back to I'm not adding anything of value to them. I ran out of interesting things to say. So this is the system that I created for my Fight Club. Remember, this is specific to Fight Club. All right. This exact example would be I come in here and if I identify, hey, Bank of Utah, I really think I can help you. Then what do? I put Mike, sorry, Mike, using as an example here. I put you on my Fight Club, right? Hey, I think I can help these folks. And so now what's going to happen? Over the next 90 days, I'm fighting to earn the business. All right. So it's the same thing for you. You met with a real estate agent or a financial advisor, divorce attorney, any of these number of different people. And you're saying, hey, I really think I can help you. I'm just as good, if not better than anybody else out there when it comes to mortgage. But it's my duty to fight to earn the business. All right. So remember earlier, I got to stop saying things. Hey, just checking in with you. Right. Remember that one? You're on my list of people to call today. Don't say that one. It really has to be some kind of touch with value. Now, there's different ways that I do that. Number one, within that first meeting, within 12 to 24 hours, this is the system. You literally just send them a thank you. It could be an email. It could be a text. It could be whatever you want it to be. Right? Hey, I love spending time with, and that's the script that I like to use. I love spending time with talented people. I love spending time with like-minded people. Right? And thank you for sharing my beliefs that everybody needs a coach in life. That's it. It's called Neuro-Linguistic Programming, NLP. What am I doing with them? I'm already validating that we should be working together because we have shared interests and beliefs. All right. So that's the first touch that I like to do. It could be, again, it could be a text. It could be an email. It could be a social media message. I don't care. All right. Now, the second touch that I like to do, and again, this is assuming this is somebody that you want to be doing business with, particular B2B, is maybe you send them one of your favorite books. Hey, as we were talking, you know what? I know you're a top producing, you're a business owner. I really love the book Good to Great. And they really have some really cool principles in there. And so maybe you send them a gift of a book. What does a book off Amazon cost? $10. All right, just giving you an example. All right, one of my top producers, he always sends the book Go Givers Sell More by Bob Burg. All right, so that's his, like he buys all these copies and he literally handwritten note, thank you so much for the time. Here's a book. I really think you'll appreciate chapter 3 in the book. I'm going to follow up with you next week to see if you had a chance to look at that. What is he already doing now? Setting the stage for the follow-up. Yeah, the call to action, right? Be expecting my follow-up coming up. And by the way, the book for him is direct. It's in direct alignment with his core values, which is what? His belief statement is, trained consumer always outperforms an untrained consumer. So it's kind of like mine, right? But that's what he's leading with. He's leading with education because of that. All right. So that's a second type of touch. But it could be any number of things. This could be where, hey, we were talking about that first-time home buyer program, and I want to send you marketing collateral for it, right? So it could be any number. This VA loan. This is why we're the best damn VA lenders in the state of Utah, right? This is what makes us different. So it could be content specific in terms of, personal development, or it could be your actual marketing for your products and your services. All right. One of the things that talking about touch number 2 there, when I moved to Denver, Colorado, I bought up a bunch of copies of All the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss, and I would literally go drop them. So anybody that I met with, I was like a branch manager, and they had kids, I would like drop that book off at their office, and I'd like on the inside like, oh, the places will go together. Guess what? Sales is corny and cheesy. Get over it, right? It's a little bit corny and cheesy, so that's okay. So the second touch is just typically something tangible that they can have. All right. The third type of touch is the personal trigger. So I mentioned earlier, personal trigger would be anything making me think about that person in that moment. So this is where, hey, I woke up today thinking about you, but there's a reason why I'm thinking about you, right? Whatever that personal trigger is or that business trigger. So I love the personal triggers. You know, I constantly, I love sports, right? So it's like, hey, opening day of baseball. So, you know, I might reach out to different people that I know they're a certain fan of a team. You know, March Madness just got done, right? So if you know somebody's an Auburn fan or a Duke fan or a Florida fan, Houston fan, there we go, right? So even as I'm saying that, there's fans of those teams that I know of that are popping them into my head. So I can just say, what would be my reach out then? Good luck this weekend. It really is that easy. All right. So I'm just constantly looking for personal triggers and business triggers. All right. Business triggers would be, hey, rates, again, like, hey, rates have come down a little bit. I just want you to know that, you know, maybe now is a good time to refinance. So maybe reaching out to them for that on the consumer side of it. It could be, hey, I just drove by, you know, talking about smaller towns. I just drove by your just listed sign, right? Anything that I can do to help you. Maybe take a picture next to it and post it online, right? You see how these are like, again, these are little stupid things, but man, they add up. There's so many different reasons to reach out to different people that we're constantly looking to pay attention to. And then you do all this just to do what? Get back to face, right? So this might be 30 days later, it might be 60 days later, it might be 90 days later, but you're asking that question. You know, have you noticed how hard I've worked to earn your business? What are they going to say if you're doing all these things? Because nobody else is. Yeah, I notice how hard you're working, right? Hey, what's stopping us from working together? All right. Now, the other thing that I see a lot of people struggle with is you assume that because you didn't get their next referral, it might be the fact that what? They don't have business to send, right? And I think, Russ, to your point, that's kind of like this market, you know, these top producing real estate agents, they're just doing far less than what they were doing before. So the mindset is, the narrative is what? I haven't gotten a referral from this person, which means they must be using somebody else. But it could be just the fact that it's slower in the market, right? So instead of you making it about you, what should you be doing? Hey, man, we haven't had anything come in a little bit, or I haven't seen a referral come our way. How are things going? Is that not a pretty easy question? How's your business going? I know things have, you know, really slowed down for us as well, right? Is there anything that I can do to help? So sometimes it is that empathy towards others. Yep. Yeah, I don't. So this one, yes, within the first couple of days, but then quite frankly, otherwise, it's kind of just, I'm constantly looking for ways. That's why I get them again. Like I have an accountability software, so it literally gives me suggestions of what to do. So this is like inside of my little system here, and I created this because there wasn't. Most CRMs didn't have like this is what you should do, right? So that's literally what this is. Send a post meeting thank you email. You know, hey, you added this person to your help list. You haven't made the initial contact yet. You haven't conducted your 90-day checkup, right? So as much as I want to automate through a CRM or marketing or whatever it is, I would just tell you, you can't automate deep, meaningful relationships. Would you guys agree with that? Right? So this is like still me being the center of it. Sorry, friends online there. This is still me being at the center of it where I still have to be the one. These are my relationships, sort of a thing. And so that's really what this is right here is once I get the contacts into a selling system, it's kind of, I'm getting suggestions. But again, if you don't have that, then this is where you have to kind of be on it, right? It's like, hey, you know, within 7 days of me adding somebody to my fight club, I need to have out. And that's where it is. Like, did I send that email? Did I send them a book or something content specific? Did I do a business trigger? So yeah, you're kind of, maybe you're setting your own reminders. It goes back to your calendar, right? Like maybe you're just getting it on your calendar, like follow up with this person in 7 days or 14 days, sort of a thing. But I'll just share with you, man, I'm constantly looking for reasons to reach out and engage within that process. So we're not getting into this part of it, but like these other touches is really goes back to that friend zone of, if you're doing the personal triggers and you're doing the business triggers and you're adding the value, and you're constantly saying engage with them, at a certain point, you do have to ask for it. Yes or no? Right? Like, out of all these things that we're doing, why am I not getting the business? Seems this is like that 2.2 millimeters of change. It seems so easy on paper. But I have an LO out of the Wichita market, and she would buy one of the top producing real estate agents wine like every single month. They go out, girls' night, wine and dine, and she never got a deal. And I was like, well, have you asked her? And I was like, she's like, no, not really. Like, you got to have that conversation. I'm not running a charity, right? Like, at a certain point, you have to ask for it. And the realtor was like, literally, no, I thought I had sent you something. Like, no, right? And it's like, well, I have cash buyers. Like, no, I can see the deals that you're sending to other people, right? Like, because there's data. Again, your title friends have that data. There's other technologies that have that data. You think that was a comfortable conversation, though, for her to have? Do you think it needed to be had, though? Yeah. Right? So we'll do 5-minute countdown, okay? We'll give 5 more minutes, all right? So at a certain point, like that's what, like, so think of this as that you're laying the foundation for the ask. And then this part is like you're actually asking. Have you ever heard the expression, what is the expression? You have to be prepared for the answer that you're about to receive when you ask a question. Never ask a question that you're not ready to hear the answer to. That's the expression I was looking for there, right? And so you have to be ready for that. Hey, why are you not sending me the business? And what's really going to happen when you ask that question? It's either going to be a BS excuse or a true objection, right? Again, hey, I'm already using, this person. They've always taken care of me. They've always been very loyal. You know what? They do pay for some of my marketing, right? Okay, cool. At least now you know. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. But again, sometimes you still got to ask for it. Yeah. And then it's like, okay. And that's where you're prepared though, right? Like you should kind of, emotional intelligence, social intelligence says, I kind of know what's coming. Right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. And then sometimes, again, if it's a real estate agent or another B2B person, you just relate it to their business, right? Like make them think about, how many times or how often have you done all the heavy lifting and then you never got somebody's business? It's frustrating, right? And so I think that's where if you go back to that social identity of like, hey, I go through the same emotions and feelings that you go through, right? Is it the fact that you don't trust the fact that I'm going to get your deal done for you, right? Or whatever the reason is. And you guys know there's the same 3 to 5 that you're going to get. It's the same 3 to 5 things, objections that you're going to get. This goes back to those performance moments. Are you prepared? Do you have something to say when you receive that objection? Whether it's the borrower side or the referral partner side. All right. So that's a whole nother exercise, a whole nother workshop, right? Like the top 3 to 5 objections that you get. I used to call it overcoming objections. I don't call it that anymore. I stopped using the word overcoming because you can't overcome. There's certain objections, again, that maybe you can't overcome. Hey, rates, I'm looking at your rates versus a competitor's and, you're not even in the ballpark. Okay, cool. I can't overcome that objection. Again, hey, I've been using the same realtor or the same loan officer for years and years and years, and they've always taken care of me. We've never had a single issue. Awesome. Right? But then there's other ones that's like, hey, I need to be able to handle that objection when it does happen. Rather than, okay, cool, I just want to be liked. Thank you. And I think that's one of those things that I've constantly had to stick up for myself. It goes back to that. You have to have respect for yourself, right? Ross, you mentioned confidence earlier, right? You have to have confidence in your own self to be able to have some of those. All right. But then I asked that question, do they really still fit my filter? So if I've done all this and I ask for it and then they give me that BS excuse, you know what, this person just does not fit my filter. And it's okay for me to remove them. I actually get a lot of liberty knowing that what I can remove somebody from my database. Spring cleaning feels good sometimes. All right. So that's the follow-up process there. Some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? You know, you can't lose something you never had. I love my little movie quotes. Have you guys ever seen the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? Right. And it's the very last scene, and it's Kate Hudson has that beautiful yellow dress on and the necklace, and Matthew McConaughey goes chasing her down there. And what's the quote? You can't lose something you never had, right? You can't lose something you never like. I love that quote because it's safe in business, but I don't know until I ask. I don't know until I go through that process.
How, you talked about humble brags. Like, how do you do that? Like, my observation of a lot of the loan officers in the room is that they do all sorts of amazing miracles, and then they don't know how to communicate to their referral partners the miracle they perform.
Yep.
So they don't actually get any credit for it. Like, how do you do that in a way that's like
Not braggadocious. Yeah. I think a big part of this is one of the, and I'm sorry I didn't get there, right? Habit number 4, which is the next habit, which I love doing sort of those exit interviews, right? So you get to the end of the loan and you do an exit interview with the borrower and you do an exit interview with the real estate agent. And if you can get the borrower to say, oh my gosh, you know what? I came in this process and I was nervous, I was scared, I was whatever, right? I talked to 2 other people, they couldn't get it done, but then I worked with your name here, right? And these are the things, these are the problems that they solve for me. So I think number 1, if you can get the actual borrower to say those things, and then you relate that back to, the real estate agent themselves. But then when you're sitting down with a potential, real estate agent, like I think that's kind of the social proof is just like you mentioned earlier, all the different types of people that you've helped just like them do this and that and the other. But if you can get it on paper to where the actual borrower sharing, these are the things that this person did for me. This is how they helped change my life, right? My perspective coming into that deal. That's my biggest advice. Again, the habit would be every transaction that you get across the finish line, do that exit interview with them. And it's not just 5-star. You guys know what I'm talking about. And then this is meant to be no disrespect to anytime you say something, no disrespect, it means you're about to disrespect, right? So, but I work with a lot of banks, a lot of credit unions all over the country, and you guys love your NPS scores. Nobody gives a shit about your NPS score. I'm sorry. They just don't, right? But what do they care about? It's that borrower getting and sharing that, oh my gosh, you know what? I didn't think we could get in this home. This person worked with me over 15 months to help me get my credit repair up, right? You get what I'm saying there? Like, it's kind of like you got to be able to leverage those borrowers and the referral partners to get them to understand how you help solve their problems. And it's not going to always be that case, but there are those rare instances, some of those instances where like, yeah, man, this was incredibly hard, sort of a thing.
So what I'm hearing is you almost have to create a system to be able to have feedback. And then
For sure.
in those sessions, you can bring up
the
wins. But if you don't have the system, then it just sounds like you're.
That's right. And it really is like literally habit 4 is that it's like, and part of your pitch is, hey, we want to do such an amazing job by the end of this. You want to replace yourself with somebody else just like you, right? So there's certain things along the way. Anytime you're delivering good news, what should you not be afraid to do? Ask for something, or just validate how you're helping them. All right. Or even if the situation was challenging, right? It's like, okay, these are some of the things that we did, right, to help you with that. But yeah, that is definitely the system is throughout the process, reiterate how you're helping them. And then at the end of the process, you can't be afraid to ask for that. Again, that sort of that exit interview. I've even gone as far as like literally helping write it for them. And I don't think that's compliant. All right. So I get it. But I think that's one of the challenges that people have is they don't know how to write or whatever it is. And so it's like, hey, when we did our exit interview, you touched on these 2 or 3 things. Would you agree with this? And then they kind of sign off on it. And then if you guys, again, like This is a whole nother workshop. But that's the other issue that I see with a lot of bank and credit unions is your mortgage department doesn't have a mortgage specific place for reviews or for those testimonials, right? Your banks have the branches, and without fail, when I Google, Bank of Utah, whatever market, what am I probably going to see? Branch level people complaining about something stupid, right? So this is a whole nother can of worms that I'm opening at the very end. But I always encourage all of our mortgage departments to have a mortgage specific place that you're having your own reviews. Do you guys have that or no?
We do, but I'd actually, if you looked at it, to our credit, like probably 70% of the reviews on our branches are about our mortgage stuff because we do probably the best job.
Good.
And then I think Megan has individual Google loan officer pages. They all have.
Oh, perfect.
And then we would,
That's above and beyond, by the way. Yeah.
some loan officers do better than others, but like we have some loan officers that probably get a positive review once a month for their business.
If you guys have your own Google business pages, you should be, leveraging the heck out of those for sure. Because most do not allow you to do that. That's an amazing thing. Megan, do you want to speak to that? I know we're at our 2-minute deadline here.
Got an hour and a half.
Oh, okay. All right. Awesome. So to wrap all this up, right? And I apologize, I didn't get to, the habit 4 and the habit 5 and all the different types of ideas. I have like ideas about every first-time home buyer. You should throw them a housewarming party and invite the realtor to come do it and buy the pizza and the beer and meet all their friends. And right. I have the mindset of, hey, there's a lot of things that I did before that I stopped doing now that worked, right? Because I'm too busy or whatever it is. But I need to get back to doing some of those things. Whenever you've gotten to the level of, I don't need to do that anymore, I feel like you've lost, right? Like I'm above that, sort of a thing, because there's always somebody that's going to try to come in behind you and do a lot more of those things. And again, I've been guilty of these. All right. So I'm going to end on this one right here. All right. So there's a big difference between being a person of interest and a person of influence, in my opinion. All right. You should all aspire to be people of influence. It's not about you. It's about the people that you can help with your services. All right. Now, where am I going with this? A lot of this is the marketing, the personal brand. Is, when you go put on your badge and you go out in the community and you're representing yourself, absolutely. All right. But the online part of this, there's different things that you can be doing to showcase your own self. Right. And I recommend that once a month, again, with permission of marketing, that you do some type of blast to your entire database. And you are the ones that are educating them on the different things. It could be, hey, this is what's going on in our community. This is what's going on in the market. This is what's going on in the mortgage. This is what's going on in my personal life. Right. And really humanizing some of those kinds of things. Because again, if you're not doing it, somebody else is doing it. And I'm guilty of this. I hate the way that I look and sound on camera. I think we're all probably that way, right? And anytime that I do a blast, what do I naturally go look at with my stats? Who unsubscribed, right? Versus how many people opened it, how many people engaged with it. Are we not wired that way? Like, it's not so much all the different people that we impact. We want to look at the 3 or 4 or 5 negatives. And so as long as I'm leading with education, as long as I'm leading with good intentions, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm sorry, I just don't. All right. As long as I am trying to do the things that I know I should be doing, I'm doing my best and forgetting the rest. Right. Then I'm no longer concerned about all that stuff. And I promise you, again, when you're doing a database blast to 20,000 people like I do, pretty much bi-weekly, I get a lot. Hey, unsubscribe me, opt me out. And I'm like, there's a freaking button right down below. All right. This isn't that complicated, sort of a thing. But it is natural for us to focus on the negative, or at least me speaking, than the positive. So when you're thinking about being a person of influence, I love the Mother Teresa story, and I'll end on this. All right. When Mother Teresa was first getting sick, she was down in Tijuana, Mexico, and they transferred her to La Jolla, California for the healthcare. All right. And this is what Mother Teresa said. She got to the hospital and she refused treatment. She said, if I die, I die. I am not receiving any treatment until you guys volunteer to go help these folks down in Mexico. And so she got 25 doctors to volunteer their time to go down to Mexico because why? She had a status. She's Mother Teresa. And so you see how like status sells, self-promotion isn't evil. It's because it does matter in today's world. But it's how you're helping people through your status that matters the most. And as long as you continue to focus on the things that you know are going to go out there and impact other people in a positive way, I can't be concerned about that one borrower that hates me, right? That one contrarian. As long as I'm doing all the things that I should be doing, then I'm going to be just fine when it comes to that. So again, thank you to Johnny, National MI, Mike, leadership for trusting in me to come add value. I do hope, I know 3 hours seems like a long time. I do hope it went quick. And I do hope there's something, I know I covered a lot. I hope there's something that you can take from today's habits, systems, processes that you can go take back to your business. I appreciate you guys. You guys give me my purpose. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Obviously, we do this all day, and I want this to stay up the other too. Well, if you have any questions, in your packet is his contact information. We'll get your contact information as well. But thank you very much for taking the time and educating us.
For sure. Thank you.
Got lunch back here. Let's take